Chapter 1081 Last Resistance. Flower Blade went on the offensive. With a wave of his hand, billions of flower petals appeared in the sky, covering Ao Shen and the surroundings. Each petal gleamed with a sharp intent or chi. They rushed toward their target, cutting the space around simply due to their sharpness. Ao Shen waved his whip, destroying every petal. Their sharpness was useless to him. Divine Armament used a spell to materialize his defense in the shape of a mountain before dropping it on the dragon. Ao Shen's human body created a tail that rushed to the sky, destroying the mountain with one attack. Lightning Fist appeared next to him, punching his head with a fist full of divine punishment. "I've been waiting for you," said Ao Shen with a smile. Darkness of the heart. Lightning Fist's punch stopped momentarily as she saw Ao Shen's face turn into Saber Snake, someone she felt guilty about. However, she swiftly regained her bearing and continued her attack. Sadly, that slight pause is a grave error for beings of their level. Ao Shen's sharp claw headed directly into her heart. However, Divine Armament exchanged places with her, leaving a large hole in his chest. Ao Shen was unhappy because he sensed a petal in this guy's soul that blocked the most critical part of that attack. The origin of this chapter's debut can be traced to N0V3LB1N. What an annoyance, thought Ao Shen looking at Flower Blade. Although he's a new immortal sovereign, he seemed very adept at using the Dao weapon he possessed. Additionally, his primary spell is not only a sword attack. The flowers seemed very versatile. I probably should eliminate him first, but he seems like a cunning guy with many tricks up his sleeve. After proving the Dao, so she decided to use one of his most powerful techniques. Night of Yesterday. The world's order dictates that the sun and the moon will alternate, changing day to night. But is the night of tomorrow the same as the night of today? No. So, what if someone wishes to control the night of a week ago? With the proper manipulation they can control time. The sky above this group suddenly turned into night, but the night will be somewhat different with each passing second. What's happening? Lightning Fist asked. She felt a great sense of dread, but she did not know exactly what was happening. "He's using his darkness Dao to control time," said Flower Blade with an ugly expression. "Control time? You don't mean?" "Yes, once he reaches the night when we become immortal sovereign, it's over for us," said Flower Blade. "He and Divine Armament became immortal sovereigns 8,000 years ago, and by the rate at which the nights kept changing, it wouldn't be long before reaching that period. He could already feel his body weakened as he became younger. We must kill him as soon as possible," said Divine Armament. "Agree." Strength Flower, Speed Flower, Defense Flower, Stamina Flower, Luck Flower. Lightning Fist and Divine Armament each received 5 petals that fused with their body, drastically increasing their overall stats. Feeling confident with this boost, they rushed toward their opponent, followed by the Sword Chi petals. The plan has not changed. Restrain the enemy to exile him into the upper dimension. Suddenly Flower Blade felt a strange urge. He felt something creepy, eerie, and fearful behind him. The corner of his eyes seemed to have seen something, and without realizing it, he turned his head to see what it was. Nothing. It was empty. He immediately knew he was being tricked and turned around, but it was too late. Shadow tentacles had restrained Lightning Fist, and Ao Shen's claw had pierced Divine Armament's head. Flower Blade clenched his hands because he could no longer sense the latter's soul. "Damn him," he roared in his mind, but he exhaled to calm down. He activated his petals to save Lightning Fist. "It's too late," declared Ao Shen, and his words were immediately proven correct. Before the petals reached their destination, their aura suddenly dropped, and it was the same for their master. The 8,000 years had passed, and Flower Blade watched as a terrifying sense of weakness enveloped him. He wanted to sigh but immediately discovered something. He was tier 11, meaning his existence was higher than his opponent in the cultivation hierarchy. As such, although his body reverted to the immortal venerable stage, his soul remained at tier 11. He immediately mobilized as much power as possible. "A pointless struggle," said Ao Shen, who pointed one claw at Lightning Fist's forehead, and her body fell into the sky as if it were the ground. With a wave of his hands, the 2 immortal sovereigns' bodies disappeared. Soul petals, translucent petals materialized before him, rushing toward his opponent. Ao Shen turned into a dark light to rush toward him, but his armor blocked all those petals. Then, something unexpected occurred. Flower Blade ran away. A martial artist that actually deserted? "I did not expect this," mused Ao Shen, who knew this was pointless. His darkness time technique was still in effect, and he blocked the surroundings to prevent these people from running out of its range. He suddenly thought of something and his body disappeared. He materialized from Flower Blade's shadow and immediately immobilized his body with a dark curse. "I can't have you blow your body up and reduce my benefit," said Aoshin. He killed this annoying human and put the body away. He cancelled his technique and looked in the distance. He saw Huofenhuang floating in the air with a black and white shield around her, her eyes closed and the cult leader facing her. A battle of the mind? Interesting. He used an eye technique to see what Huofenhuang was experiencing. After a while he suddenly said, "Hee. At least you're not stupid. Do you want my help?" "If you ask nicely, I want mind?" Aoshin's smile did not last long as the cult leader cut his connection to their mind battle. "This guy is not bad. If he were in our world and lived under the pressure of that generation, his accomplishments might have been higher." Aoshin looked in the distance. He had no desire to intervene in her battle. She did not need or want it, so he would not embarrass himself. Plus, there were strict rules about people's opponents. He sensed something approaching, and as expected, a battered Chen Heng appeared before him. "You look terrible," commented Aoshin, noticing all the injuries on his body. He did not expect Jian Sha and the others to push him to this extent. However, after thinking about it a little harder, it made sense. He heard the sword-casting villa would send 7 Emperor artifacts for him to use his created 7 stars Dipper formation. "Did you kill them?" asked Aoshin. "I should be asking you this question." "No, they should not be dead since I don't detect any death aura from where you came from." Qian Heng did not say another word. He had exiled these 2 but not to the upper dimension. He sent them to a faraway world community to buy him some time while they tried to return. He already knew the answer despite asking what happened to these people. He felt an overwhelming sense of guilt, not only because of what happened to those 4 but also because of what happened to his world. He felt that things might have turned differently if he had been a better leader or less stubborn. "Was I wrong?" asked Qian Heng to himself. "No, this is just the guilt talking. If the martial arts civilization had any hope to survive and have a chance to revive in the future, we must not surrender. If he had not done what he did, fewer people would have died, but their cultivation system would have crumbled. Then, the people would start using the origin system, thus starting their path of assimilation." Qian Heng remembered when he started practicing martial arts. At age 3 he started medicine baths to lay the foundation. The other children cried except him, who endured everything because his father, an ordinary deacon of a medium sect, always told him stories about martial artists and their power. He wanted to be like the people in his father's story, so he bore the pain. At age 5, his father was crippled while on an outing in a secret dimension. He thought his life was finished, but his father told him he had gone into that place in the first place to find an internal force method that could be practiced at a young age. Such techniques were only used by geniuses in top sects, but his father risked his life for it. Qian Heng practiced this method no matter how painful, just to lay the best foundation for himself. At age 7, his father died from the injuries, and before passing, Qian Heng promised him to reach the pinnacle of martial arts. As time passed, Qian Heng experienced many things including a few sect-destroying events, until he met his master, who brought him to the Palm Peak sect and became a top heaven chosen. His master was also a proud martial artist with only one dream, cultivating an emperor of the Axe Dao. Qian Heng was devastated after losing the Heavenwell battle, feeling he had disappointed his master. However, the latter reassured him that he was proud as long as he never gave up. In all these situations, Qian Heng always had one thing to rely on: his love for martial arts. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1082 Wrapping up. Qian Heng's eyes became focused, flashing with an unwavering determination and madness. He loves martial arts with all his passion, and he will not allow his world civilization to assimilate with another. Was this decision selfish? Yes, but he did not care. He was an emperor, and so was his right to impose his will and ideas upon others. "In the end, I'm no different than him," sighed Qian Heng before directly confronting Aoshin. While the 2 were fighting, Huofenhuang was finally victorious in her battle. She gazed at them and said, "Why don't you let me get this one and you can rest?" "Fuck off," replied Aoshin. "All right. In that case, you'll go destroy the Dragon Rising sect." "You dare." He had been waiting to enact his revenge for so long, but now she wanted to deny him the satisfaction. Boom. Qian Heng took advantage of his distraction to injure him slightly. "See what this bitch did?" thought Aoshin. "Why would I not dare?" replied Huofenhuang, making Ao Shin grit his teeth before snorting coldly. Whatever. They'll just summon their souls and torture them for my revenge. It'll destroy their soul. Do you want to start a war? My demon race has no issue fighting your ancient clan to the death. Who's scared? I would love the opportunity to get rid of you. Enough, suddenly said Wang Wei's voice. Help him seal Qian Heng so he can be publicly executed. What? But he's my prey, argued Ao Shin. He's about to burn his body, soul, and will to gain strength and do something to complicate the situation, so deal with him swiftly, explained Wang Wei. You can share the profit 70-30, 70 for the dragon. Fine with me, said Huofeng Huang, who joined immediately. Qian Heng realized his plan was seen through and wanted to rush, but with two fourfold eternal emperors, he was sealed with little to no effort. Kill me now, said Qian Heng. As an eternal, I have the right to die with my dignity intact. He did not want to be humiliated by public execution. You lost that right when you chose to be so stubborn, sneered Huofeng Huang. Qian Heng was sealed inside a marble that Ao Shin kept. Then, the two glanced at each other before rushing into different directions. Huofeng Huang headed to the celestial demon cult to receive her reward. Meanwhile, Ao Shin hung Purple Dragon's head on his hip as he flew to the Dragon Rising sect. You don't have to do this, persuaded Purple Dragon. What we did was wrong, but there are many innocent children and women in the sect. I'm begging you to let them go. Do you know that we made new rules of war because this world chose to fight instead of peaceful cooperation? These rules would model how we will treat future worlds that choose the same path as you. Do you want to hear them? Said Ao Shin, blasting a towering palm at the Dragon Rising sect's protective formation. Despite hearing no response, Ao Shin continued, once all the eternal powerhouses are dealt with, everyone has a limited period to plunder as they wish. You bunch of monsters, roared Purple Dragon. Civilized monsters, corrected Ao Shin. The court forbade harming any mortals or assaulting women. However, killing women, even children, is allowed as long as they are involved in the cultivation world. Bastards with no conscience. No, it makes sense. After all, we must eradicate the root to prevent some future talented descendant from returning for revenge, said Ao Shin, who finally broke the formation. That's always how the world of cultivation operates, and it's the same no matter the world community. He glanced at Purple Dragon. Your righteousness disgusts me. How many innocent lives are in your hands? How many women and children have you killed? Now that it's your sect, it's suddenly wrong? He sneered before starting his mindless slaughter and plundering. Somewhere in a mountain, Li Jun sat cross-legged with a red spear floating before him. A red aura rushed into the spear, making the surroundings eerie and tense. He looked in the distance, watching all the chaos. War, death, destruction, and slaughter, truly horrible things. He was calm since he had already played his part by killing numerous immortal venerables and a few Dao ancestors. He was lucky their formation was not detailed enough, and the rules could not be made so that he could only fight Dao ancestors. After all this killing, I need a peaceful bosom to soothe my spirit, muttered Li Jun as the beautiful face of his wife appeared in his mind. He wanted to use the dream world to contact her, but he knew she was probably busy with all the other alchemists refining pills non-stop. He closed his eyes to focus on his own thing. Di Jiaying was in the library of an immortal lineage she had just destroyed, reading all the martial arts books. She was intrigued by this world's cultivation and wanted to see if she could gain inspiration from it. She was satisfied with the results as she did learn a few things and had one or two ideas she wanted to try. She closed a book while looking in the distance. After this war, she would have stayed on the Heaven Chosen list long enough to receive her reward. With the karma washing water, she can choose any generation she pleases to compete and prove the Tao. Di Jiaying would have chosen the next generation if it were up to her. After all, isn't it good to prove the Tao and sit on that throne as soon as possible? However, her elders warned her of Wang Tian's presence and even suggested not to worry about the next 5 generations as the Tao opening sect might already decide on them. One thing she knew for sure was that she must prove the Tao before the Di clan found Di Tian's reincarnation. Otherwise her only fate will be death. Kai Rinshu had returned to the healing squad, swallowed a few pills and meditated to recuperate. This war was brutal and he almost died a few times. Regardless, he was happy he participated because he felt he pushed himself beyond his limits and might make a breakthrough once this was over. Su Shi floated in the air, invisible to everyone. Once Qian Heng was captured, she knew this war was over, so she returned for a few reasons. First, the Yang side of the world also had issues due to the forceful acceleration of time, which she might need to deal with. Second, she wanted to protect a few people and their families/sects who treated her well during her stay in this world. None of this would have happened if you guys were not so stubborn, she sighed before teleporting away. Tai Gang finally had the opportunity to rest. After the final eternal powerhouse was dealt with, he announced this news to the martial artists still fighting, destroying their morals. Then he led his troops to kill as many martial artists as possible. The fact that they were running away made it easier for the troops to execute the enemy. Once that was done, Tai Gang ceased to be the commander of this army, and these legions returned under the control of their factions, which led them to plunder resources. According to the court rules, all resources used in this war will be reimbursed from resources in the martial hegemony world, and the plundering part is not included. Tai Gang removed the top of his robe, showing all the wounds on his body. These martial artists were ruthless and treated him as the cause of what was happening, so they wanted to kill him at all costs. He took a paste from his space ring, which was emitting Dao rhymes, and rubbed it on his torso. Bang! A lightning bolt descended from the sky, shifting Tai Gang's attention. He sneered after seeing this as he knew the cause. Someone tried to break the court's rules and thought they could get away with it. This chapter was originally shared via N0, Vel B, J, N. Tai Gang wondered who was stupid enough to think they could ignore the Heavenly Emperor's gaze. He continued his healing while resting. He had acquired a lot of military merit for this war and needed to think how to use it. The best use was to make preparations for his dynasty after his reincarnation. Time is up, suddenly said a voice, and everyone could hear it. Everyone looked at the sky, where they saw Wang Wei calmly floating. He calmly glanced as everybody rapidly recuperated, returning to their position. Wang Wei gazed at the freed Turtle King. You'll have to transform or shrink if you want to participate in the meeting. I don't want to do either, replied the turtle. I'll send a projection. That's fine. Wang Wei focused his gaze on this world's court. Most of the former leaders left to their factions to defend their legacy, but a few people remained, using the court's formation as their last line of defense. Wang Wei made a grabbing motion, and the court appeared in the void while also shattering all the formations. He appeared in the throne room, looking at these people who were trembling in fear. Without hesitation, he walked to the throne and sat down, making these people grit their teeth. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1083 Punishment and Next Steps. Wang Wei waited until all the representatives from the Myriad Emperor world arrived, and he teleported the remaining survivors from the martial hegemony world. Even Qian Heng was brought out to participate in this meeting, kneeling on the ground with his hands tied behind his back. It's all your fault, roared a representative from the Peaceful Life Palace. Due to their formation they survived until the end of the war. Unfortunately, Reverend Tranquility was killed, so they sent Taoist Serenity for this meeting. If not for your betrayal, we might have a chance. Taoist Serenity remained calm, not saying a single word. No one could tell his thoughts or emotions, but his silence agitated many people. Quiet, said Tai Gang. Remember whose presence you're in. Everything immediately quieted down, so Wang Wei started the meeting. Believe it or not, I was prepared to be lenient on you guys. However, you made a blunder that will make my work harder. You killed too many mortals and almost wiped out the demon race. Your actions have directly affected my benefit, so you will be punished. The martial artists' faces turned ugly after hearing this, especially Golden Fist, since this was his plan. They turned their head to look at him. However, before anyone said or reacted, Qian Heng spoke. There is no need for a blame game. We can still accept defeat gracefully and hold our heads high. The people looked at him with mixed emotions. Some sympathized, some blamed him, some cursed, and many still respected his spirit and will. For your first punishment, you will reimburse all the resources we used in this war twofold, including the loss of lives, said Wang Wei before pointing at someone from the Foreign Affairs Department. He has a list of all your contributed resources. You can confirm with him. Many people finally understood why resources were not counted as military exploits. However, they were more satisfied with this outcome. The origin of this chapter's debut can be traced to N0/V3LB1N. Second punishment. For the next 50 generations, all the divine positions in the lower realm will be under the jurisdiction of the Myriad Emperor World's court. You will still control the court in your homeworld, but the lower realm will not be in our control. This was terrible news for the martial hegemony world. The lower realm was vast and could bring too many benefits. But for the next 50 generations, They could only watch as another world used its resources to nourish themselves. Isn't 50 generations this is non-negotiable, said Wang Wei calmly. How can you guarantee your successors will keep their word? Asked Qian Heng. I have no problem having a written contract with severe punishment, said Wang Wei calmly. He'll even be generous and add a clause that we cannot attack you for the next 5 generations after returning control of the lower realm. I would prefer that, said Qian Heng. All right, nodded Wang Wei. Now, for the final punishment, all immortal powerhouses must be executed, except for the Turtle King. What? Please no. We have already lost so many powerhouses. We cannot resist any more losses. And humans and demons cannot coexist together. Especially with their hatred for what we did. This is again not negotiable, said Wang Wei. You guys will be a warning to any world that resists. They must be prepared to be weakened to the lowest level if they choose to resist us. If you leave us without any immortals, it will be easier for foreign worlds like the Celestial Harmony world to return and conquer us, argued Qian Heng. We have invested interest in this world, meaning we will protect you from anyone trying to disturb our wealth, said Wang Wei. The martial artists wanted to curse, yell, and even revolt but did not dare. Some of these people were alive during the Taoist occupation of the world, and it was humiliating. They did not expect to live long enough to experience such a thing twice. Now let's talk about what's going to happen to this world, continued Wang Wei. If you had accepted our offers, we would have shared the merit for mortal civilization and demon school with you, but now that's off the table. The only exception is the sea race who offered us their allegiance. Turtlekin's projection, a 2-meter-long giant turtle, bowed to accept. The dragon promised me a share of the expansion in the lower realm. Will you honor your promise? Yes, but you should understand that your contribution to this war is insufficient to cover a large territory. That's fine, but I would like a few worlds with a large demon population. I would like to migrate a few here. That is the plan, said Wang Wei before snapping his finger to send a talisman to all the representatives from home. I've already divided the lower realm. This is not your first time, so you know what to do. Everyone quickly checked their territory and the response was mixed. Some people like Huofeng Huang have received a large territory from the last time, while others have the same or smaller areas. The war room predicted that the lower realm might resist based on this world's response, continued Wang Wei. So, they've decided on a new approach. We will broadcast a recording of the war to the lower realm before publicly executing Qian Heng as a warning. This should make the process easier. Qian Heng clenched his fists, but he did not say a word or beg for his life. Although he felt humiliated, he had long understood this was inevitable when he decided to resist no matter what. Your Majesty, said Golden Fist. Will it just be death or? True death, said Wang Wei calmly. We want to send a message, and only in this way will people understand the consequences. Qian Heng still remained quiet. He expected this outcome and had already made peace. His only regret was he could not pursue martial arts beyond the Emperor realm. But he was satisfied that he proved the Dao and showed his master his Emperor Tirax Dao. Wang Wei raised his hand to stop Golden Fist from speaking further. The Heavenly Emperor position cannot remain without a leader, so Turtle King will take the position, announced Wang Wei, and his words once again almost caused a revolt. The Turtle King frowned before accepting the role. With such power, it will be easier to protect his kind and help the demon race recuperate. We will begin discussing the details. Any more questions? Asked Wang Wei, ignoring how these people were turning red. The negotiation process would not have been so harsh if they were not so stubborn and ruthless. I have a question, no, a request. Wang Wei looked at the person who spoke. He did not recognize this man, nor did he care enough to use his power to know. What is it? The man exhaled, most likely trying to brew his courage. On behalf of all the survivors of this world, I would like to ask permission to eradicate the Peaceful Life Palace. The room was quiet as people mulled over his words. Then, someone immediately agreed, followed by more. Yes, let's eliminate these traitors. I agree. Better yet, let's ban Taoism in the world. Taoist Serenity did not say a word, but anyone could detect the sad aura emanating from his body. No need for that, replied Wang Wei. What? Is just this one request? Ask someone. We don't want anything else, we just want to eliminate these traitors. I'm saying no because they are innocent, explained Wang Wei. What do you mean? They had no connection with the Celestial Harmony world. But you said. Your world was not harmonious and I saw a weakness and exploited it, said Wang Wei with a shrug. These martial artists fell and their minds were about to collapse. They did not trust the peaceful life palace because of these words and killed many of them. They even removed their access to the formation and now they knew what they did was based on a lie and was useless. Taoist Serenity closed his eyes while muttering mantras under his breath. Their sect has spent years proving to the world that they were not outsiders and loved this world as much as them. Unfortunately, it was all pointless. What about the celestial demon cult? Asked Golden Fist, trying to control himself. He was a calm individual by nature and understood the brilliant strategic move of that lie, so he could not accept this news. Their ancestor was from another world community and they have some connection there, but that's it. The new cult leader was calm since he did not experience the same thing as the peaceful life palace. These martial artists were smart and knew they needed their powers for the war, so they were not as aggressive. Of course, the fear factor from the Demon Star Eye Emperor also contributed to their reservations. Regardless, the cult leader was glad their names could be cleared to prevent problems in the aftermath of this war. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1084 The Treasury. Shen Heng closed his eyes. He thought he could accept whatever occurred in this meeting with a calm mind, but he was wrong. He also did not trust the peaceful life palace, so he did not advocate for them as much as he should. He even closed one eye when the people attacked them. If he had controlled his distrust of foreigners or thought more rationally and talked his people into leaving after this war to deal with the issue of the peaceful life palace, many things would have gone differently. Your Majesty, we have a request as well. Wang Wei glanced at Taoist Serenity. Oh, I'm listening. We would like to relocate our palace to the Myriad Emperor world. As soon as he uttered these words, the atmosphere in the room changed. The remorseful martial artists suddenly felt more guilt and regret. Now that they knew the peaceful life palace was innocent, they did not want to lose an emperor lineage with 5 great emperors. The Western Bliss sect representative frowned, while the Tai Profound Palace and other Taoist lineages had shining eyes. Are you serious? Asked Wang Wei. Yes, and we are prepared for a full relocation. We will change our citizenship identity and change our cultivation system. We only ask to preserve our Taoist traditions. Shen Heng wanted to say something but was too ashamed, especially to Reverend Tranquility, so he kept his mouth closed. Interesting, uttered Wang Wei. And you don't blame me for falsely accusing you and causing so much pain and loss? All is fair in war, replied Taoist Serenity. I'll allow it, said Wang Wei with a smile. Since such a powerful sect wants to move into his world and increase its inheritance, why should he refuse? He turned his head to the corner to Taoist Evergreen, the department head of general affairs. Help them with the transition and treat them like our own. Also, work with foreign affairs to see if we can lure other powerful sects to our world. Your Majesty, is this a good idea? Said a representative. More sects will also mean more competition, and not to mention the issue of trustworthiness. All of you should already understand that from now on, all Heavenwell battles will reach a new height in competitiveness and should already prepare, said Wang Wei. However, you have a point. We can't allow people to infiltrate our world with this measure. Evergreen, you should be strict in your requirements for selection. As you wish. Any more questions, requests, or concerns? No one said anything, so the meeting continued. They discussed the gritty details before assigning people to different posts. After Wang Wei dismissed everyone, the people scattered. Some people stayed in this world to help it recuperate, some went to use their military exploits to increase their strength or get more resources, some returned home, and the rest started the expansion in the lower realm. Wang Wei was alone in the room thinking about the war. He successfully gathered enough data for training and simulations, but it was not enough. The martial hegemony world was in a semi-isolated state, meaning they had little to no connection to other world communities, and they separated themselves from their lower realm. Many of the Myriad Emperor world's future opponents will not be like this. They will have reinforcements from foreign allies and a large pool of soldiers from their lower realm. There is still a long way to go, muttered Wang Wei before looking in the distance. It's a shame no one came to their aid. He stood up, preparing to drink with Li Jun, when he suddenly noticed someone and teleported to them. Kai Song looked around at the destruction of the world, the injured mortals and cultivators, the violence, the cry of pain and despair, and the blood atmosphere that had enveloped it. What are you doing? Sect Master. You scared me. I've been here for a few seconds and even showed my presence, but you were too distracted to notice. Sorry about that. I was deep in thought. About what? In designing a puppet that embodies war and slaughter. Inspired by this war? Yes. You should consult Li Jun. I will, but am still in the early development stages. If you need help, don't hesitate to ask the sect. I know. Wang Wei nodded before frowning. Is something the matter? I just thought of a place that might contain a puppet you're interested in. Where? The Great Qin Treasury, replied Wang Wei. He realized he'd been putting this thing off for a while, and now was the time to open it. Great Qin? Are you talking about the terracotta warriors? Kai Song read the sect's secret archive and learned about Great Qin and its history. Can you take me with you? No, it might be dangerous, replied Wang Wei. After I open it and get my hands on what's inside, you can study it as much as you want. All right. Wang Wei chatted with her briefly before leaving to see Li Jun and had a drink. He did not immediately return and stayed until Qian Heng was publicly executed, and he ensured he was completely dead. The world then forgot their first heavenly emperor, and the Palm Peak sect lost an eternal. Qian Heng's master committed suicide right after witnessing his disciples' public execution. In some twisted way, he was lucky he died so quickly, as he would have to forget him instead. Wang Wei returned to his court and without hesitation, he summoned the human destiny sword and quietly activated it. He immediately sensed a hidden pocket dimension and crabbed it into the court. He used his divine sense and fate Dao to check for danger or anything worth paying attention to, but there was nothing. So he entered without hesitation. The human emperor left a trial for whoever the sword chose, but this was nothing for Wang Wei. He debated whether to pass the test or just bypass it. His hesitation was not out of fear that his actions would activate a hidden mechanism to destroy what's inside. That's not possible with the disparity between his current strength and the human emperor when he created this thing. His only worry was whether the human emperor would send a projection to contact him, which is also why he waited so long to open the treasury. Knowing the human emperor was the first Qin emperor and from Earth in the prehistoric world, Wang Wei wanted to meet him only after becoming a paragon. After mulling it over a second, he decided to bypass the test and went directly to the core. Many puppets and formations tried to stop him, but it was useless. Once he reached the core, he found 5 rooms. The first room contained an enormous garden with countless well-preserved spiritual herbs, many of which were now extinct. Wang Wei sensed the power of the Grand Dao source and flew to an isolated area. These herbs have been nourished for so long that they've become top emperor resources, he muttered with shining eyes. He waved his hand and put everything in this garden away before heading to another room. The second room contained many weapons, including emperor artifacts. However, what truly surprised Wang Wei was the 2 Dao Will artifacts that survived for this long. He was intrigued and investigated, realizing that the formation used to preserve these artifacts was unique. Miscellaneous, one should love this formation, thought Wang Wei before collecting it. The third room was Kai Song's heaven. Hundreds of millions of puppets, and at the front, Wang Wei saw terracotta warriors which were immortal tier puppets. Wang Wei found something interesting, and it was not the 2 eternal class puppets. He picked up a gray ball to analyze. This is perfect for Kai Song. The gray ball was a puppet embryo. After refining it, the owner would own a puppet that grew with them. From his divination, Wang Wei knew this thing would also become emperor grade after its user proved the Dao. I wonder whether the human emperor cultivated puppet Dao or was there someone else in his team with such accomplishment, thought Wang Wei before heading to the 4th room, which was a scripture room. There were many techniques, but only 2 caught his attention. The first was an incomplete puppet scripture and the human emperor's myriad emperor Dao scripture. As Wang Wei flipped through the scripture, his brow furrowed. There is something wrong with this scripture. Despite how he felt, he could not find anything wrong. He trusted his intuition and would not leave this technique to the sect to prevent future trouble. He put everything away before flying to the last room. There was nothing except for a blue stone at the center. Wang Wei approached and checked thoroughly before picking it up, and a message immediately appeared in his mind. After becoming the Heavenly Emperor, a path of unparalleled power will be opened for you. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1085 The Oath? Wang Wei sensed the stone was about to scan his body to check something and swiftly sealed it. He knew what this stone was and did. He deduced what the human emperor was planning. One of the things he and many people of the world have been wondering for many years was why the human destiny sword appeared in this generation and why it chose Sun Jiaolong. Everything made sense now. The sword appeared at the correct time when the heavenly emperor position would appear, and it chose someone to compete for the position. Then, the human emperor's inheritor would come to this place and get his technique in this blue stone before directing them on how to become the earth and human emperor. The stone should contain the essence of the human emperor title and instructions on becoming the earth emperor. It should also be the catalyst to fuse these three different positions. In other words, Sun Jiaolong was the human emperor's experiment on how to fuse the three paths and achieve half-step transcendence, analyzed Wang Wei. My intuition told me something was wrong with the myriad emperor Dao scripture, and the human emperor likely tempered with it to ensure he did not lose control of his inheritor and that the experiments proceeded without issue. Wang Wei frowned as many thoughts flashed in his mind. Everything makes sense except for how the human emperor knew the heavenly emperor position would appear in this generation. Sun Jiaolong did not have the human destiny sword in the other timeline he saw, meaning the human emperor's plan had not started. The sword's appearance in this specific period indicates a terrifying prediction/calculation, one that ignores his status as a fateless. Is the human emperor a master of calculation Dao, or is there something else I don't know? Thought Wang Wei. He remembered in many iterations Hongjun was a master of divination, and in some instances he was the demon god of destiny before the birth of the prehistoric world. Many things will make more sense if you add Hongjun in the mix, concluded Wang Wei before leaving this secret realm. He waved his hand to create a new secret dimension with the human emperor's scripture and the blue gem before manipulating the cause and effect of the world. Whoever the human emperor chooses next as his successor will eventually find this place in these two things. Finally, Wang Wei destroyed the Qin Treasury dimension. He looked in the distance and muttered, "There might be another experimental pawn." Wang Wei returned to the sect to hand over the thing he acquired while asking Elder Dan and others to use the resources needed for his training. He told Kai Song about the puppets and the technique before summoning Li Jun and Yan Liling. "I just saw you. Is everything all right?" asked Li Jun. "I think it's about time for you two to prove the Tao," said Wang Wei. "Isn't it a little too early?" asked Yan Liling. "Things are going to move rapidly soon," said Wang Wei. "Now that we have a moment of tranquility, it's perfect. How about gathering luck from the top of the list? The dream world is about to be connected to the martial hegemony world and all our allies. So, the Star Beast world, the Immortal Ascension world, the Chaos Bell world, the Demon Supremacy world, the Serenity Eclipse world, Shiqians, and the Ancient Star world, Shishangaians. You will have enough luck if you remain at the top of the list." "You have a point," nodded Li Jun. "In that case I have no issue." He had been waiting and preparing for this war for a long time. "What about you?" "I want to refine a Tao pill before I prove the Tao," said Yan Liling. "It should not be a problem once your soul reaches the level of Tao Ancestor, and you can borrow the power of the Grand Tao Source." Yan Liling nodded. "He'll supervise your training," added Wang Wei, and he kept his word. He ensured Li Jun's body and Yan Liling's soul reached the pinnacle of 5 root. Afterward he focused on training their Law and Dui realm. These two restarted cultivating from Tier 0 and made each cultivation realm unique, all to get a minimum of 3% Grand Tao boost from Tao Will. Wang Wei found this method more effective than training the Tao Will after becoming an emperor. This plan was now easier to execute, even for Li Jun, because of his increase in talent and because of their access to multiple cultivation systems. They can draw inspiration from them and Wang Wei will give ideas. The next step was to increase law comprehension and train willpower. Li Jun did not need the second training as Wang Wei knew will manifestation would be easy for him, and he would also achieve a 5% boost due to his willpower. So, Yan Liling focused on training her will while listening to the preaching about Pill Dao from Wang Wei, and Li Jun needed to listen to the preaching and prepare for his Emperor's Slaughter Soul. Both of them had enough resources to refine ultimate artifacts. Lastly, Wang Wei preached about existence to them until they understood a little bit, just to increase their odds of becoming Eternals. By the end of this training session they both achieved a golden law tree. The only disappointing part of this training lesson was Yan Liling's fleshly body, which was not as high as he wanted. However, he accepted the result because she only cultivated it to ensure a relative balance between her essence, spirit, and chi. 12,000 years passed outside and many noteworthy things occurred. The martial hegemony world side was completed. The world was repaired and the demon schools, dream world, enlightening temple, mortal civilization and mortal craft Dao had spread throughout the entire world community. The benefits were divided and Wang Wei received the largest share. Yen Liling succeeded in refining the Dao pill, and the world celebrated her as the greatest alchemist of her generation and maybe throughout history. Li Jun remained at the top of the list despite fierce competition from all 7 worlds, 8 if you count the Myriad Emperor world. Meanwhile, everything entered a quiet state through other world communities in the lower dimension. Everyone knows it is the calm before the storm and has just been waiting. "Are you ready?" asked Wang Wei, holding a small star in his palm. "I am," nodded Li Jun. "I'm going to ask one last time. Are you sure you don't want to compete in another generation?" "I do." Li Jun knew this was an opportunity for him instead of a burden. Good. Wang Wei sacrificed the essence of the 9 devil god world in his palm to Heavenly Dao, asking to exchange it for a heaven will. This method worked as a heaven will descended before him, and he motioned to Li Jun. Li Jun did not immediately absorb it but made an oath. "I solemnly swear, after escaping the shackles of death, I shall take on the burden of samsara as the Earth Emperor. And until heaven and earth deem that I have repaid my karma and free me, I shall not be affiliated to anyone or faction." Heaven and earth changed as soon as he stated these words, but no one noticed as Wang Wei blocked all sights and visions. A chain descended from the sky and entered Li Jun's sea of consciousness. Heavenly Dao accepted his oath. Then he finally absorbed the heaven will. Wang Wei waited with bated breath as 2 golden lodi appeared behind Li Jun. He knew the moment of truth was approaching, and when he saw the last lotus, he sighed in relief. "From today on, I am the Crimson Slaughter Emperor," declared Li Jun, but his voice had not spread. His aura was intense, exuding the power of 6-fold. 5% for awakening, 3% for Dao will, can improve, 5% for will manifestation, 5% for artifact, 2% force control skill, can improve, 5% for the Slaughter Emperor soul, 3% for his Slaughter Spear Source technique, and 2% for Su Shi's obsession technique, thought Wang Wei with a smile. His plan had worked. True Heavenly Dao did not balance him because of Li Jun's oath. However, it's not over. Li Jun started to build the Samsara court so he could take his position as the Earth Emperor. However, a black cloud swallowed him before he could react. Wang Wei's face changed and he rushed over, but there was no one. He immediately summoned his Fate Dao to find out what was happening, and only then did he relax. "Who are you?" asked Li Jun, looking at the enormous red face with 2 horns and a crown before him. He had to calm down as his intuition told him this man was scary, even scarier than his big brother. "I am the Jade Yama King, and I will judge whether you're worthy to be the Earth Emperor," the red face declared. Yama King? Li Jun had heard this title before. They were beings in charge of preventing paragons from doing as they pleased and messing up with samsara. "Lord Yama King, how do you plan to judge me?" bowed Li Jun. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1086 The Guardian. "Do you know the most required characteristic for becoming an Earth Emperor?" asked the Jade Yama King. "Strength?" replied Li Jun. "You would think so, but no. The most crucial traits for an Earth Emperor are patience and lack of ambition. These are not qualities one might typically associate with a ruler, but they are essential for maintaining the balance of samsara." "Why is that, sir?" "The world of the living is different from that of the dead," explained the Jade Yama King. "It's alright if the world of the living is in chaos, but it's unacceptable for the world of the dead. True Heavenly Dao might be lenient and laissez-faire about how to rule the world of the living, especially the upper dimension, but we are strict and orderly. As Earth Emperor, your primary responsibility is to ensure the smooth operation of samsara, a system that is already well operated and perfect. Your role is not to intervene unless something goes wrong. You must not use samsara to achieve personal ambitions or goals. Your duty is to use your power to assist samsara's operation, and you must wait patiently until the end of time, or in your case until someone else takes your position. This is the essence of being an Earth Emperor. Do you think you can do these things?" Li Jun did not immediately answer and thought about it for a few minutes. "I believe I can. Let's see if that's true." Li Jun sensed the world around him change, and he sat on a black throne with designs associated with the soul, life and death. A weird demon with goat hooves, red skin and horns began explaining his role, and Li Jun quickly adapted. Then time passed and countless problems arose in samsara, and he had to deal with them. This process allowed him to gain experience and knowledge which led to his team or people having greater faith in him. One day someone he knew and was very close to him tried to revive a dead soul, and he found himself in a conundrum. Despite samsara's strict rules, They consider the powerhouses to be emotional beings and allow them to revive the dead as long as they don't go too far or break some rules. Unfortunately, his friend's revival broke a major rule, and he asked Li Jun to accommodate him. After thinking about it for a while, Li Jun refused, which resulted in a confrontation with his close friend and ended their long relationship. Despite his deep gut pain at losing someone so dear to him, Li Jun did not regret his decisions. He understood the importance of his duty and the respect it deserved. Time healed that emotional trauma, and Li Jun settled into his role. He did not know how long he had spent in this position, but it was very long. Most might find it dull and boring, and at times, his blood boils due to a desire for a fight or even a war, but he persevered. He faced another catastrophe when he was about to become complacent in his position. The love of his life Yen Liling died, and it was true death. However, as an Earth Emperor, he knew a way to revive her, but he would break 100 rules. Every fiber in his body screamed he should revive her despite knowing the potential worldwide ramifications. And when people from his past came to ask him for help, Li Jun almost succumbed. He resisted not out of a sense of duty but out of logic. He knew that if he broke the rules and revived her, the higher-ups of Samsara would hunt them down, and Yen Liling's fate would be the same. So, he chose another path. He hoped to become the best Earth Emperor possible, hoping the higher-ups would reward him with the opportunity to break the rules. From that day on, Li Jun became a model employee/Earth Emperor. He did everything he was supposed to do and more. He resisted the temptation when many Yama kings revolted and promised he would not have to wait so long and could see her again. He resisted when true heavenly Tao was separated, and their confrontation was a perfect opportunity to break the rules without consequences. Li Jun opened his eyes. Where am I? He took a moment to regain his bearing and realized what had happened. Interesting, said the Jade Yama King. This test was a test as no participants had ever chosen this path of asking permission to break the rules. They either succumbed to the temptation, tried to be clever, or became heartless and abandoned their loved ones for power. Sir Jade Yama King, have I passed the test? Yes, and with excellent marks, nodded the red face. He did not need to test Li Jun's strength since he already knew and it was acceptable. A small black dragon carving and a black list floated before Li Jun, this the luck-condensing artifact of the Samsara court and the conferred god list. Remember, anyone on the list will have to pass a test, and the ones who fail cannot take any position in the court. I understand, replied Li Jun before bowing. Then, without noticing, he returned to the place where he had just proven the Tao. Are you all right? Asked Wang Wei and Yen Liling simultaneously. I'm fine. How was the test? Li Jun explained the situation, and Wang Wei was in deep thought. I was worried about the Earth Emperor position becoming as popular as the Heavenly Emperor, but my worries are not needed. He was also worried that Samsara would become chaotic once people heard about the Earth Emperor's position and tried to gain it. He understood the Yama Kings were even stricter than true Heavenly Tao. Do you want to announce your presence now or do it together? He asked. Let's do it together. 2x, very well. Wang Wei waved his hand and someone appeared before him. Old Man Tianji. He looked at the group with his cold and indifferent eyes. What do you want? He asked directly. A deal, said Wang Wei. There is one thing you cannot force me to give you. A heaven will, said Old Man Tianji. No heavenly Tao. What to exchange? An oath, replied Wang Wei. She will become the guardian of the myriad emperor world, dedicating herself to protecting it at all costs. She will place its protection above everything else, including the Tao opening sect or the safety of her family or clan. Muttered Old Man Tianji, but after 2 minutes he did not say another word. I know you have enough world source after saving for more than 20,000 years and siphoning from the lower realm, continued Wang Wei. And you should understand the importance of a powerhouse protecting the world at all times after what we will do to the lower dimension. You have a point, nodded Old Man Tianji, waving his hand to summon a heaven will. Make your oath. Yen Liling stepped up and made an oath, which created a chain around the heaven will. As she absorbed it, Old Man Tianji disappeared and Wang Wei and Li Jun gave her space. They sighed in relief after seeing the 3 golden lodi in the back of her head. Meanwhile, Wang Wei noticed something. Yen Liling's strength was the pinnacle of fourfold, like Su Shi. However, her soul had the potential to break the limit of a 5% Grand Tao boost. According to his estimate, it might reach as high as 7% after a few years of training. This guardian position, in essence, is a long-contracted human emperor position, thought Wang Wei with squinted eyes. Yen Liling's job will be to protect the Myriad Emperor world at all costs in times of catastrophe or disaster. Now that all three positions have shown up in the lower dimension, what will you do, Yingzheng? Li Jun ran to embrace his wife, and the two kissed passionately. If not for Wang Wei's cough to remind them he was here, who knew how long these two would give each other those doting and lovey-dovey eyes? Let's get to business, said Wang Wei, and the two nodded. I, Yen Liling, will now be known as the Pill Sage Empress and Guardian of the Myriad Emperor world. I will dedicate my life to protecting my home and ensuring our lasting prosperity. I, Li Jun, will be known as the Crimson Slaughter Emperor and the Earth Emperor, ruler of the Samsara court. All interested parties can come to test whether they are worthy to protect the integrity of the afterlife. Their voices traveled throughout the entire Myriad Emperor world community and did not spread only because Wang Wei did not want them to. All eyes focused on the vision while thinking how the world was about to change in a major faction again. Some people were not as surprised by this news as they had expected after seeing how Yu Yen proved Dao. Muttered Wang Wei as he sensed something and looked in a direction. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1087 Reminisce. Limbo, the place between life and death, between existence and non-existence, where space and time have no meaning. The human emperor sensed something in the world of the living, so his consciousness was activated. All three positions appeared in the lower dimension? Even the Earth Emperor position? In his plan, the Earth's position was the most difficult because of those damn Yama. That's why he's been trying to find a way around through the Earth Emperor, one of the 7 moons. This was not part of my calculations, he thought. He suddenly had the urge to check into the world of the living. However, a few reasons prevented him from doing so. He did not dare show up due to how Supreme Unity felt about everyone else in Limbo, and he also sensed the blockage of the lower dimension. So, he could not access the lower dimension unless he could contact Maitreya and become indebted to her. This might not be a bad thing, thought the human emperor. Ultimately, Lu Ren, Earth Emperor's name, is a fake, and I will need the essence of the real Earth Emperor for my plan. Maybe my pawn in the lower dimension will be the key. After making a decision, he sent a message to the Great Qin Saint Court so they could prepare for his return and gather information for him. Eternal Ascension World, Primordial Chaos. A pale green flame surrounded the Earth Emperor's body, holding off a colossal humanoid creature with black skin, for spider legs from his spine and fangs. The creature kept punching him with all 6 limbs, and the Earth Flame used the flame to block. His face was pale and he was sweating profusely. The Earth Emperor suddenly sensed something which caused him to pause his action. The Fiend God took this opportunity to blow his head off, but he reacted in time as a bone helmet appeared on his face. Why are you distracted? Yelled the Time Eater in his mind, but Earth Emperor did not explain. He sensed something very important to him had happened in the world, but he could not deduce any more information while in this forsaken place. Are you listening? Shut up, yelled the Earth Emperor. We're holding on because you said you had a plan. How long do we have to wait? Just a little bit more? Heaven knows how long you've been saying the same thing, countered the Earth Emperor. It hasn't been that long, rebutted Time Eater. But even if it was, what other choices do you have? If not for me, all of you would have been dead by now. Earth Emperor gritted his teeth, but he must admit it was true. Regardless, this did not change his frustration, so he snorted coldly while focusing on this battle. He wanted nothing more than to return to his dynasty and use whatever means possible to know what changes had occurred. However, before they could buy themselves some breathing room, he could not reveal the truth to prevent any of these people from messing with his plans and benefits. Prehistoric world. Hongjun sensed something and opened his eyes. He turned to look in the distance and muttered, "Has Ying Zheng's chance of becoming transcendent increased? It seems things are proceeding smoother than I anticipated." He then frowned. These two might become enemies over nothing. His experience has told him that these people from Earth do not like having the same kind in the same world. It's okay if they meet from different worlds and become close, but once they know someone is in the same place as them, their first instinct is to eradicate the other. The kid seems more rational, and Ying Zheng was never influenced by modern media, so they should be fine, concluded Hongjun before looking at the world. Lao Jun is about to become a paragon? That's something. Hongjun could not help but sigh. The prehistoric world was flawed, resulting in the saint system and other cultivation systems from other pantheons. After knowing the possible consequences, Hongjun encouraged the saints to send clones to reincarnate in other source chaos worlds and walk the emperor path. Unfortunately, Grand Dao disdained anyone from this world and ensured all the clones suffered terrible fates. Only after countless trials, tribulations, and planning from Hongjun, did the saints finally cultivate a clone that proved the Dao and returned to the prehistoric world. Of course, things would not be so simple even after such a victory. They then discovered that comprehending the Grand Dao source in the prehistoric world was 1,000 times harder than in any other world. As such, after so long, only the clone of his first and most talented disciple, Taishang Laojun, succeeded in becoming a paragon. Meanwhile, the others are either Empyreans or still emperors. This world's hope has always been those young ones I sent out, thought Hongjun. Now that the plan is proceeding smoothly, it's time to discuss it with Yahweh and Anansi. Myriad Emperor World. Wang Wei detected a significant fluctuation from the nether hell. Did you detect the Earth Emperor position and go crazy? He thought while sneering. With a wave of his hand, he reinforced the seal, ensuring Old Man Nether had no chance to escape. Let's go have a drink, said Wang Wei. Not a bad idea. How about we go to the Spirit Road trial? Yen Liling suggested, and the others nodded. Although they had met before in the sect, the Spirit Road trial was where they became a dynamic trio. They became brothers and sisters. They teleported to this secret realm, and as soon as they landed, Wang Wei took out his secret stash. That's what I'm talking about, said Li Jun after taking a small sip. This place has so many core memories for me, said Wang Wei. I met 3 people I will never forget. Oh, who? The first one was the pampered girl I killed. She's probably the first innocent life I took, said Wang Wei. I remembered you mentioned her. What happened to her family? Given how they loved her, they should have tried to find out who killed her. A rival family wiped them out after spending too much money on finding out who killed their daughter, leaving them weak, explained Wang Wei. That's a shame, said Li Jun. The cultivation path was ruthless, especially the Emperor path. What about the other 2? The second one was a gladiator from which I learned an evading technique. He taught me how unfair life and fate was, said Wang Wei. His technique, Fate is Unfair, was inspired by his encounter with the gladiator, and it was instrumental in winning against Di Tian and proving the Dao. The third one was Ji Song. He was my first real opponent. Ji Song was a waste of potential, commented Yen Liling. Had he lived, he would have prospered in this generation. Did you ever regret killing him? Asked Li Jun. No. If he had kept his word, he would have been alive, replied Wang Wei calmly. If Ji Song had survived until the Heavenwell battle, he would have spared him so he could have trafficked him to the upper dimension for more resources. I regret falling for such a simple scheme now looking back. That's fair. So, what about you guys? What significance does this place have for you, besides having your Dao companion ceremony here? Isn't it obvious? I found the love of my life, replied Li Jun with a bright grin. I found hope and peace, said Yen Liling. Oh. As you know, living in the secret realm is not a fun experience. We all lived our lives knowing we were backup or stand-ins for the main branch, explained Yen Liling. If not for the elder's strictness, many of us would have lived a hopeless life without purpose. She sighed as she remembered her childhood. I was excited when I was finally chosen to be the next head of the Yen family. However, that happiness did not last long when my aunt told me my first mission: seduce you and become your main wife. Wang Wei smiled in embarrassment despite not having any control of such a thing. Meeting and falling in love with Junior gave me a sense of freedom, a sense that I could make my own choice, and that brought me great peace. Yen Liling swallowed a large cup. Although I never said it, I'm glad you supported our relationship and never made me feel guilty for my former selfish motives. Why should I? Replied Wang Wei. I knew you genuinely loved him and how the political landscape of the sect operated. This is a celebration, so let's talk about something positive. Do you remember the time when you fell into a pile of iron boar's manure? Said Li Jun. Don't talk nonsense and sully my name, said Wang Wei swiftly. Now I want to hear this, added Yen Liling. Don't listen to him, he's lying. We were 7 and he was in a bad mood because his grandma cancelled a visit and complained to me while we were walking in the back of the mountain. He did not notice and felt right into it, explained Wang Wei. Wait, now that you brought it up, I remember feeling a slight push from the back, said Wang Wei. Did you push me? Now who's sullying whose name? Bitch, I can see the past and present. Do you want me to show you the proof? You can also fabricate the truth, countered Li Jun, so no matter what you say and do, he'll only say it's slander. Wang Wei sneered. You're talking as if I need proof to get my revenge. Hey now, don't do anything stupid. You better sleep with one eye open. Come on, it's been hundreds of thousands of years. It's never too late to get revenge even after millions of yuan epochs, sneered Wang Wei. How can you be so petty and small-minded? Oh, mighty and handsome heavenly emperor, spare this humble human. Don't you know me well enough after so long? Fine, said Li Jun with gritted teeth. You want to do this? I want mine spreading all your embarrassing moments from childhood. I want the world to know what you truly were like. Two can play at this game. Yan Liling chuckled as she watched them bicker. She used to be jealous of their banter in the past, but now she has grown to enjoy them and be present in the moment. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1088 Mobilization, Rejection, and Negotiation. After spending the night drinking and reminiscing, the team scattered the next day. Li Jun and Yan Liling visited their parents and family before taking on their position. Yan Liling created the World Guardian Mountain, which will be her main location for quite some time. She will spend her time cultivating and refining pills, most of which will be stored as reserve in case the worlds enter a period of emergency/catastrophe, while the rest are for her. The good news is Heavenly Dao will provide the resources for these pills. After suggestions from Li Jun and Wang Wei, Yan Liling hired a few people so her mountain would not be lonely. Meanwhile, Li Jun started recruiting for positions in the Samsara court. People were surprised when they learned there were no restrictions or limits to who could participate in this selection, even people from other world communities. However, they soon understood why after seeing the difficulty of the Samsara court's test. After returning to the court, Wang Wei prepared for the future by first checking and testing the result of his training. In the past 10,000 years, his fleshly body cultivation reached the third step of the Dragon Phoenix realm, and he passed all 800 side door tribulations. He could feel the limit of his bloodline was approaching. Wang Wei knew once he opened the gate of power, his body would reach tier 11, but his bloodline would stay at peak tier 10 revolutions, until he completed the 11th revolution of the technique. Wang Wei then checked on the Genesis fruit, and things were proceeding smoothly. After the war, he feted a few immortal sovereign bodies, significantly accelerating the gestating speed. He then activated a communication array to contact Shi Shangyan. I did not think you would wait so long to contact me, said Shi Shangyan. I was busy with something important, explained Wang Wei. He always felt a duty to ensure that Li Jun and Yan Liling proved the Dao, so he focused on achieving this goal over the past 10,000 years. And now that he had succeeded, he felt a heavy burden lifted from his shoulder, and his mind even experienced a slight sublimation. That's understandable. Wang Wei was not in the mood for chit-chat, so he asked directly, any news from your family? Yes. According to them, a prophecy has placed the eternal ascension world in the center of an upcoming turmoil. Many worlds have eyes on us and some have already acted. A prophecy? Asked Wang Wei with a frown. He now knew why the parasites were temporarily unavailable, but the more valuable information was about this prophecy. They didn't tell me much, but they warned me that something major was about to happen. Something major? If other worlds are interested, then it can only be something that affects the entire chaos universe. The Third Origin War? Whatever it is, it will definitely involve achieving transcendence, analyzed Wang Wei. Thank you for the information. No, I should thank you. Our clan was cut off from any news and your information was very useful, replied Shi Shangyan calmly. They ended the conversation after a brief chat, and Wang Wei was left to his own thoughts. He realized time might be running out. If he does not hurry, he might be caught up in a chaos universe-wide event without being prepared. He could imagine how much he would suffer if an event similar to the Second Origin War occurred and he was not even a paragon. Let's get things moving, he thought before contacting someone else, Tong Ruobing and Yan Liling. Is it time? Asked Tong Ruobing directly. Quite direct, aren't we? But yes, it's time, nodded Wang Wei. I've been waiting ever since you contacted us. Tong Ruobing left the communication, leaving Mu Lei to shake his head. He looked at Wang Wei. Are you sure about this? I know about your strength, but the Commerce Hub is a giant for a reason. Who knows what kind of trump card they are hiding? Unlike these people from the Myriad Emperor world who only recently returned to the Endless Void stage, his sect has been dealing with the Commerce Hub for eras. As such, he had an inkling of their deep foundation and what they were capable of. I don't deal in absolute but am confident, replied Wang Wei. That's good. Mu Lei ended the conversation and prepared for the expansion of the Star Beast world. The conversation ended and Wang Wei looked in the distance. He had made his move and only had to wait. Of course, now that he decided to accelerate things, he thought of something else he could do. He teleported outside the Myriad Emperor world and began to create a world. Suddenly, he disappeared from his location and appeared in an empty space with a large face composed of stone and horn. Sir Yama King, what can I call you? Stone. Sir Stone, I come here to become the Earth Emperor. This has always been Wang Wei's plan. Li Jun will bear the burden of the Myriad Emperor world community while he does it for the rest of the lower dimension. You're not eligible, said Stone Yama King directly, making the corner of Wang Wei's lips twitch. Sir, is there a reason you've disqualified me? Because I say so. That's fair, but couldn't you at least test me before rejecting me? I have no doubt you can pass the tests, said Stone Yama King, his voice calm and his tone straightforward. But you're still not eligible. I just want to know why, besides you not wanting me to be one. Because you're a Dao overlord. Wang Wei wanted to curse. That feels like discrimination. It probably is, but our policy has always been to reject all Dao lords and overlords. You people are the embodiment of being too ambitious, not to mention how you're always trying to find loopholes and weasel your way out of agreements. Your case is even more severe because you're a true devil with no respect for the rules or order. Wang Wei wanted to cry. He did not expect to be directly rejected because of his best qualities. He sighed, Sir Stone, there must be a reason you're still entertaining a discussion with me, right? We know you're clever, so you don't need to show it off, said the Stone Yama King. Wang Wei decided that remaining quiet was the best option in this scenario. If you must know, I haven't sent you back to the world of the living and directly rejected you because of the destiny true heavenly Dao granted you, said the Stone Yama King. Although we don't care about the world of the living, we would like it to remain peaceful to make our job easier. Plus, some bastards dare encroach on our domains without authorization. Wang Wei knew who the Yama King was referring to, but he would not bring this topic up. Based on this conversation, he still had a chance and needed to choose his next words wisely. I have no ambitions for samsara, and I can sign the most restricted contract or oath, said Wang Wei. All I want is the merit to increase my cultivation. As you know, I have a heavy destiny on my shoulder and I want to survive what's coming next. Uttered the Stone Yama King, and Wang Wei swiftly caught on that he would not say more. My strength is enough to bear the burden of the entire lower dimension. In the grand scheme of things, that's nothing, but it's still useful. As the saying goes, mosquito legs are better than no meat. That's a fair point, the Stone Yama King uttered. But I really don't like you. I have feelings too, complained Wang Wei, but he did not say these words out loud. After seeing the contemplative look on the Yama King's face, he added one last thing. I will also deal with Old Man Nether before I leave. Although he's an ant to you guys, I think he's also an eyesore. You are correct again, said the Stone Yama King. Alright, you've convinced me. You can be the Earth Emperor, but no conferred god list for you. You can bear the burden of all the positions. Fine by me. Although it was much more work, it also meant more benefit or merit. Sign the contract. A black golden parchment materialized before him, and Wang Wei read every word and checked every corner. The contract was very direct, telling the rules he needed to follow and the severe consequences of breaking them. Wang Wei signed it after not finding any fault with it, and the Stone Yama King granted him a luck condensation artifact for his court before kicking him out without any word. What a strange encounter, thought Wang Wei as he returned to the court. He was about to fight, so it was not appropriate to bear the burden of the samsara court. He focused on the upcoming fight and his possible confrontation with Emperor Jia. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1089 Liability. He sat on his throne, his body releasing a very potent or intense flame-like aura. He suddenly opened his eyes, which had turned golden, but blood started to drip. He calmly washed away the blood before looking at his palm, which had turned completely gray as if it were a dead object. He mobilized his regeneration to heal his palm to no effect and only succeeded after swallowing a pill. He waved his hand to mobilize an array that showed a refined young man with glasses and streaks of white in his hair and beard. He had a scholarly aura emanating from him. President, said he. Lord He, saluted the Commerce Hub president. Excuse me, for I will be direct given the situation. We just received news that the Star Beast world broke our rules and started invading the endless frozen world. You should understand what this means? Yishi understood. The endless frozen world is the closest world to the Star Beast world, with only a pseudo-eternal emperor. Although he acquired a unique avatar chi that allowed him to create 9 perfect clones with all his strength, this would not change much. Everyone knows the Star Beast world will win this war, so why the focus? It's the significance behind the invasion. The Commerce Hub forbade any of its members from invading each other and spreading the courts and other influences. But now Mu Lei and his wife have blatantly challenged the commerce rule, forcing them to act. If they do not respond, all the respect, prestige and power built over trillions of years will be destroyed. So, no matter what, they must sanction and punish the Star Beast world, which in turn meant fighting the first Heavenly Emperor Wang Wei. I know, replied He, his voice extremely calm. Then, according to our agreements, are you prepared to act? He paused. If it were up to him, he would want to wait a little longer to better prepare. I am reassured, smiled the president. Do you need any help? Don't hesitate to ask. No need for now, replied He. Very well. Well, await your good news. The array ended, and He was left to his own thoughts. He took many resources from the Commerce Hub in exchange for fighting and dealing with Wang Wei. His actions allowed the Spirit Genesis sect to recuperate, but now, it was time to repay his karma. He's eyes penetrated the distance to secretly observe Gao Buqin and Desolate One. He considered for a moment to kill these people, knowing their affiliation with the Dao opening sect, but he knew Wang Wei would never allow such an eternal powerhouse to die and would intercept him. He did not want their battle to take place in the battle spirit world and destroy it in the process. He activated the formation a second time, and an all-black shadowy figure appeared opposite him. I already know who you are, so why the theatrics? Given our enemies, you should never be too careful, the figure replied. Are you about to move? Yes, so what about what you promise? It's already prepared. A portal opened before He, and a talisman rushed into his palm. He checked it with his divine sense before nodding. All the luck to you, said the hidden figure before disappearing. He immediately left for a secret dimension of the sect to prepare for this battle. An unknown place. 5 people showed up, all sitting at a table and all hidden by a black film or veil, each labeled from 1 to 9. Number 1, what happened? Asked number 4 with a neutral voice. The fight is about to begin, replied number 1. As soon as he said these words, the room immediately became quiet. Will our plan work? Asked number 2. It already started on a bad start, so probably not, said number 8. Their original plan should have started with Wang Wei killing number 10, thus creating a karmic connection with him. They even had prepared a memory orb, which is a rare artifact in the upper dimension used by factions and clans to know when one of their eternal members had been killed. The orb would turn red, reminding the faction that they had forgotten someone close to them and seeing if it was still possible to revive them. These things are extremely difficult to find as the materials are rare. We can only hope for the best, said number 1. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. What do you mean by this, number 10? I am not fucking call number 10, yelled number 10, slapping his hand on the table. He even removed his veil, revealing an elderly man with disheveled hair and an unkempt robe. If this was not a formation, these people could have smelled the alcohol on him. My name is Xiao Weiyuan. I'm fucking tired of this life. We used to live like kings with our heads held high and a disdain for everyone else. But ever since we were sent on this mission, everything turned to shit. Put your protection back on. Do you want to be discovered? Warned number 2. I don't give a F. Enough, said number 1, waving his hand to dismiss him from the meeting. He looked at everyone and said gravely, emergency mission. We will head to number 10's world and kill him as swiftly as possible. The meeting became quiet for a few seconds. Is this necessary? Asked number 5. He's become a liability, and I won't let that drunken bastard cause our death, said number 1. His life has been terrible since he descended to the lower dimension, but he does not want to give up. They can return home with all their power and privileges as long as their plans succeed. Maybe this is for the best, added number 2. None of them wanted to die, and since returning home without success was not an option, they had no choice but to make things work out here. Myriad Emperor World, Heavenly Court. A week had passed and Wang Wei opened his eyes as he sensed an aura calling him. He gazed at it and saw He waiting, so he turned his head to look at other places. He saw the Star Beast world had the overwhelming advantage just like they did, But the enemy was resisting fiercely, and this war was still undecided. The endless frozen world was prepared due to warnings from the commerce hub, and they had connections to their lower realm and reinforcements. Additionally, their emperor was not afraid of using his supreme avatar chi to its full use by turning his eternal class clones into suicide bombers. Everything is settled, so let's begin. Wang Wei sent a few talismans to communicate to the people in case something happened in this fight, and he could not be present to oversee the overall situation. He teleported to a void zone, a place between two world communities. Wang Wei guessed he chose this place as their battlefield to prevent the aftermath of their attack from affecting nearby worlds and even communities. Wang Wei immediately checked for any hidden methods while looking at He Shi. His eyes narrowed. So, you're willing to go to this extent to defeat me? To kill you, but yes. Is it worth it? What do you think? What about the aftermath? On the unlikely chance that you kill me, what next? Asked Wang Wei. I can use the Commerce Hub's resources to reduce the corruption, and after a few reincarnations, I can wash away the artifact's aura and imprint, said He Shi calmly, his voice full of conviction. So decisive. I have to admit I respect you a little more, said Wang Wei. He Shi fused with the broken Empyrean artifact, resulting in his Dao being corrupted. However, he seems to be willing to go to this extreme to eliminate Wang Wei. I don't need your respect. When you lay down at my feet, I will be at peace and avenge what you did to my sect. His body released a tangible fighting aura. Odd, from my character profile of you, you do love your sect but not to this extent, commented Wang Wei. No, your actions are not out of a sense of duty or responsibility, it's pride and jealousy. You felt that all the power, fame, glory, and respect I received should belong to you, that it's something that was destined for you, but I stole it. Odd, where did you get this delusional sense of grandeur? Wang Wei was genuinely perplexed. I don't have time for your nonsense, replied He Shi calmly, but his eyes became fiercer. Let's get this over with. All right, but this place is still not good enough for this fight, said Wang Wei, who suddenly appeared before him, grabbed him by his face and teleported him to his void battlefield. This place is not only his home but also prepared for the worst-case scenario. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1090 Push to the Limit? He Shi felt humiliated. He had gone through all this trouble, almost ruining his future by fusing with that artifact to acquire the strength of 60% Grand Dao Source or Eightfold Battle Realm, but he was still manhandled like a child. A wave of intense anger rushed into his mind, but he immediately cast a spell to calm down and cool his head. With a cool mind, he knew what his first step was: Frowny Face Battle Art Boost, Physique, Azure Dragon Strength. After this short encounter, He Shi knew how powerful the opponent's flesh was, so he used these two techniques to give him a much-needed boost. Meanwhile, Wang Wei secretly used his Order Disorder Dao to change the rules around him secretly. He added the stipulation that no one should intervene in this battle. His purpose was to ensure Emperor Jia did not sneak attack him. At the very least, this technique would make it easier for him to detect any upcoming intruders. He Shi activated his Awakening, donning his gold-silver armor and summoning his halberd. However, the armor was slightly different since the last time, with drawings of the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise, in other words, the four symbols. Simultaneously, Wang Wei's 10 fate palaces hung above the heavens. Split Primordial Chaos. He chose a more aggressive approach to this fight and went on the offensive. He used an updated technique based on his battle with Su Shi. The halberd, with its immense power, dropped on Wang Wei and he used one finger to block it. Impossible. Do you know the probability of a technique failing for someone of your level T? It's infinitesimally small. However, for someone who can control probability, the number doesn't matter, does it? Boom. Wang Wei punched him in the face, sending him flying and breaking a few bones in the process. He raised his hand to manifest a string attached to He Shi's neck, and he pulled him toward him, punching him a few times. Dragon of Auspiciousness. The dragon image on He Shi's lit up for a few seconds, and the aura of luck/auspiciousness Dao emanated from his body, allowing him to cancel his opponent's technique. Battle Cry. He Shi roared, and his voice contained a primal rage with the power to awaken a power deep within everyone's soul. His aura drastically increased, and he rushed forward with his Threading on Infinity Step technique. His speed reached countless times beyond infinity, and he thrust his halberd like a spear. Omicron M. Wang Wei used his right hand like a spear and clashed directly with the weapon. His Yin-Yang Dao removed the majority of force or power behind this attack, thus pushing He Shi's weapon away as his hand headed directly for his chest. A bright flame came out of He Shi's armor to delay Wang Wei's hand before he used a parry technique with his left hand. Wang Wei felt his own strength was redirected at him, and he secretly praised the subtleties of this battle technique. Sadly for He Shi, he was beyond a master at controlling force or strength. Boom. He Shi's left exploded, but he suddenly inhaled and absorbed all the blood and qi. His aura again increased. Some kind of self-sacrifice technique to boost strength? Analyzed Wang Wei. Roar of the war god. He Shi opened his mouth to roar, releasing a potent sonic skill that could shatter hundreds of heavenward worlds. Roar of fate. Wang Wei returned the fate and also roared, and the result was He Shi's body exploding into a blood mist. Sadly, a flame appeared in the distance and he appeared perfectly intact. His Dao is no longer battle but a combination with the four symbols. Four symbol arrays. The phantom of the four creatures appeared behind He Shi in a circular shape before fusing with him. Four cardinal exchange strike. As the halberd approached, Wang Wei found his senses becoming chaotic. North became east, the south became west, up became sideways and so on. In a moment he became someone with the worst sense of direction and spatial coordination. More importantly, this change did not only affect his normal senses, but his divine sense and any sensing techniques would be the same. Swish. Wang Wei calmly evaded this technique. So how did he do it? Did he use yin-yang to revert his lost senses, use luck to evade, or maybe use his ancestors' evading technique? No, he simply adapted to this abysmal sense in less than a nanosecond due to his absolute control over his body. In other words, it became normal for him. Monster, thought He Shi with gritted teeth. Wang Wei waved two fingers and used the negative freedom of life technique to kill his opponent. At this point in time, it can be said he's playing around as he used his freedom Dao to do something his life-death Dao would be more efficient at accomplishing. He Shi disintegrated not from an atomic level, but from a conceptual level. Less than a second later, a black tortoise phantom materialized in the distance, and He Shi replaced it as it disappeared. According to the four symbols, the phoenix is the symbol of rebirth, and the black tortoise represents endurance, thought Wang Wei. Do I have to kill this bastard 4 times to push him to his limit? Despite how it looked, he has not been playing around, he's constantly on guard. To prepare for this fight, he has run countless scenarios, including the worst-case scenario in which Emperor Jia teamed up with Old Man Nether and released whatever Lovecraftian creature was in the Abyss Gap. He Shi used another stat-boosting technique, Rage of the White Tiger. He could sense the dead gray spots all over his body, signaling that he could not bear much more power from the artifact, but he did not care. His mind was focused on one goal. 67% Grand Dao source, but his body is collapsing, analyzed Wang Wei. Almost there. He Shi rushed forward and used a time-based attack. The four symbols symbolize the 4 seasons, and their rotation represents the passage of time. Wu Feng Huang once used a similar technique. Using a time technique on a master of time Dao? Now, I know your new technique influenced your mind and reduced your battle IQ, said Wang Wei, who ignored the time reversal of the halberd as his hand grabbed He Shi's head. He used his life and death Dao to absorb conceptual level life force from his body. He Shi immediately became a dried mummy before his body scattered like sand blown by the wind. A blue dragon phantom materialized, followed by He Shi's body. However, he was not perfectly intact, as his left eye had turned gray like a statue or stone. The vitality of the blue dragon, thought Wang Wei, using his understanding of the 4 symbols to analyze his opponent's technique. The last one should be the protection of White Tiger. He Shi immediately used another boost technique. Black Tortoise Stamina. Wang Wei went on the offensive after detecting that He Shi's strength had reached 68% Grand Dao source, approaching the ceiling of the battle realm. So, he wants the remaining death to come as quickly as possible to see what will happen. Fate Prison. He Shi found himself captured by a cage made of silver-gray strings. His instinct activated and he wanted to use whatever means necessary. However, he suddenly felt that all his moves were predicted in this place. No, not just his move, but everything about him was predicted or predetermined. His birth, parents, personality, experiences, memories, thoughts, choices, future, all possibilities, everything that constituted his existence was already determined. This fact almost destroyed his mind. The providence, the inevitability, the lack of choice, freedom, and free will was too much and overwhelmed his mind. He could not move despite desperately wanting to. Then he committed suicide by blowing up his soul and body. Then, as Wang Wei predicted, the spirit of the white tiger revived him one last time. Wang Wei did not hesitate to use his destruction sub-Dao to annihilate this new He-Shi immediately. Although his strength was now technically on par with Wang Wei, 69%, there were still some minor differences. He-Shi released a powerful shield with the colors red, blue, black, and white, resisting the palm of destruction for more than 5 seconds before it was broken and annihilated him. Meanwhile, Wang Wei was on high alert, waiting for any signs or changes. If there were a time that Emperor Jiao or anyone else would interfere, it would be now. As he predicted, a new He-Shi appeared before him despite already using all 4 lives of the 4 symbol mirrors. His body, which had previously had his eyes and left arm turned gray, was in perfect shape, without an ounce of injury. More importantly, his aura was now peaceful and less volatile and aggressive. Wang Wei squinted his eyes. This is... If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1091 Unexpected Truth. This is a unique and potent talisman, thought Wang Wei. He negated all the damage from fusing with the artifact while retaining his strength. More importantly, I do not recognize the runes used for that talisman. He-Shi had regained his calm and composure, and he did not have to worry about his body collapsing for a while. He had to thank his ancestor, Emperor Jia, for leaving him a way out, but this was his last chance. However, he also realized that even with the same stat/strength as his opponent, the vast difference in battle IQ, experience, and Dao versatility makes it almost impossible to win the war. Since any more Grand Dao boosts were now useless, he needed a new tactic to win this fight. 6 people appeared behind He-Shi, both women and men. Each held a different weapon and had an indifferent face and dead eyes while releasing an aura extremely similar to He-Shi's previous chaotic aura. Weapon slaves, muttered Wang Wei. He had heard these things were the true foundation of the Spirit Genesis sect. 3 of these people did not stay long as they turned into motes of lights that fused with the other 3, dramatically increasing their aura. The 4 creatures materialized above He-Shi and the 3 weapon slaves, forming a formation that connected them. With this boost, He-Shi's power did not reach 69,999% like Wang Wei, but the weapon slave temporarily reached 69%. His plan was to use numbers to give him the advantage. Move out, ordered He-Shi, and the others followed. Weapon 1 held a whip-like weapon with 2 blades attached to the ends. He swung the weapon, targeting Wang Wei's feet. Weapon 2 controlled 2 flying golden rings to target the arms, while Weapon 3 used sword slashes to cover his escape. Meanwhile, He-Shi suddenly disappeared. Wang Wei calmly looked at these attacks and sensed the void was blocked. They targeted his space Dao, forcing him to either evade or confront these attacks head-on. However, despite these people's best efforts, he still teleported away from his location. He used the technique he taught Wang Ju, lowering himself to the 2-dimensional world, full of sentient creatures made of lines and points, before ascending to his 3rd-dimension world. Such subtle and unique utilization of spatial Dao rendered these people's attempts useless. Once Wang Wei appeared, he was about to annihilate Weapon 3 from the mortal coil, but he sensed something and his body moved out of the war. A halberd came from the void, releasing an eerie dark aura. Corruption. He wants to use the artifact to corrupt my Dao? Analyzed Wang Wei. That's not important. I could not detect his presence until the last minute. What method did he use? Is it those strange runes? Wang Wei divided his body into 3, creating 3 clones, one representing Yin, the other Yang, and the third the alternation between Yin and Yang. All 3 had his full power and their target was the 3 weapon slaves. However, 3 He-Shi suddenly appeared, blocking his clones. That's the supreme avatar chi used by the pseudo-eternal from the endless frozen world. Was the Commerce Hub sponsoring him? He never received any news about this, which showed these people were not as useless as he labeled them. Simultaneously, he also understood the deep foundation of the commerce to have 2 of these unique chi. While the clones were occupied, the 3 weapons came together and used the ultimate weapon art manifestation technique. Their weapon released an aura that combined to form a yellow energy chain. Swish. Wang Wei evaded the chain, but the thing followed him, which was annoying. So, he stopped moving and the chain passed through his body as if he did not exist. Wang Wei then turned into a golden light that rushed toward the weapons with immense ferocity. The chain tried to stop him, but it could not touch him no matter what. It was like they were in 2 different dimensions, like they were yin and yang and could never touch. or that he had escaped the shackles of being touched by this thing, that he was freed from it. Bang! He Shi's halberd appeared out of nowhere to block or veer him from his course. "Caught you," muttered Wang Wei, and He Shi's body appeared from the void with a look of horror. His strength had returned to its 25% Grand Dao source base, and he could not stack his buff. Everything he tried, it was like he was switching the methods of buff instead of stacking them. He immediately understood what had happened. A Dao imprint attack. He disrupted my Dao imprint to prevent me from stacking Grand Dao boost. He gritted his teeth in anger and jealousy. He did not understand why he did not think of such a brilliant method. Of course, he understood this was not an easy thing to accomplish. Finding a person's Dao imprint was innately difficult, and it was 1,000 times harder doing so while they were still alive. Regardless, He Shi felt he could have pulled it up had he thought of it first. He watched as Wang Wei's punch headed for his head, and he knew he would not survive this attack, so he made the smart move. He used a battle technique to exchange places with Weapon 1. However, he seemed to have expected his actions, so as soon as his fist hit, he activated his Karma Dao to summon threads connected to the 3 weapon slaves. He directed his Dragon Zodiac fist to the other 2, killing them instantly. Do their weapons dissipate once they die? They are truly worthy of the name Weapon Slave, he thought. Boom, boom, boom. The clones went on suicide missions against He Shi's avatars, and Wang Wei rushed toward his opponent. He knew the latter should have 3 more clones, then he would need resources and time to recondense them. He Shi was still a talented individual with excellent battle IQ. As such, he immediately knew how to deal with Wang Wei's technique. He moved his Dao imprint, constantly changing the location in the Grand Dao source to prevent its discovery. He Shi then used the Supreme Avatar Chi to summon the remaining 3 clones. Only with numbers will his plan have a chance to succeed and make him the final victor of this match. Blessing of Free Will, Wang Wei used his Freedom Dao to give these clones free will, forcing them to revolt against the main body. He Shi's face contorted as he noticed this change. Luckily for him, the Supreme Avatar Chi had the word Supreme in its name for a reason, thus resisting this technique, buying him a short attosecond of time. He Shi was decisive and blew up the clones before controlling the force of power from these explosions and redirecting them toward Wang Wei as an attack. Wang Wei manifested a small transparent cube that contained an entire multiverse, and the cube swallowed all the explosions, destroying the world inside. He then held the cube and crushed it, releasing the chaotic energy it contained from having a universe that had been destroyed. Additionally, the clones released the corruption aura from the 4-symbol mirror, so the cube also contained this aura. Shi held a talisman in his palm, and his eyes were intensely ruthless. He sacrificed his body, soul, and body to activate the talisman, which condensed a red array above this void battlefield. A white light descended from the formation, enveloping Wang Wei before he could react. He Shi appeared in the distance with a pale face, a weak aura, and a cracked mirror floating next to him. "This is the end. I won," he uttered. "I'm afraid not. Impossible." He watched a perfectly intact Wang Wei floating after the light abated. "How can it be? All of you are so focused on finding ways to block my divination but fail to realize how powerful of an intelligence agency I have under my control," said Wang Wei calmly. "You've infiltrated their ranks?" "I've been keeping an eye on these rats for a very long time," replied Wang Wei. "After capturing number 10, I finally had enough information to truly infiltrate their rank. They should all be attacking number 10 as we speak, and what awaits them will only be capture or death." He Shi's body trembled. He used the longevity pill the Commerce Hub gave him for one last desperate play to exile this bastard to the upper dimension. According to these people's words, many people in the upper dimension wanted Wang Wei dead, so he would not survive long when they sent news of his arrival. But now his plan failed and he lost. He Shi looked at him with gritted teeth, anger, hatred, and many other complicated emotions. "Now you're truly cornered. Let's see what happens next," said Wang Wei before punching with all his strength. A colossal red fist descended from the heavens with the power and intent to annihilate all sentient beings. Bam! A rune materialized above He Shi's head, releasing a shield that effortlessly blocked the attack. Then his temperament changed. He became calm, his eyes wiser and more indifferent, and even his aura old, ancient, and noble. "So that's how it is," muttered Wang Wei. "You and Emperor Jia are not two different people. You're his reincarnation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1092 Battle of Limits? Although Wang Wei had solved one mystery, he now had 100 more questions. How did Emperor Jia hide his reincarnation from his eyes? Why did he not ascend but reincarnate instead? What is he planning? Emperor Jia heard Wang Wei's words but did not say anything. He was momentarily confused as he looked at his body and checked his memory. This is the 5th reincarnation? Why did I reincarnate into the Spirit Genesis sect? I took measures to ensure this did not happen. And why is the Dao this time battle? This is not what I chose. His eyes turned into runes, and he seemed to be calculating or deducing some information. No information deduced, but my intuition is telling me you're involved in this anomaly in some way, said Emperor Jia, finally paying attention to Wang Wei. I want to say that this is our first meeting and I have nothing to do with you. However, weirder things have happened to me, so you might be right. Who knows? Despite his laissez-faire attitude, Wang Wei was on guard at all times, and that's because Emperor Jia was a blank to him. He could not divine any information or see the latter's future actions. This was the first time he faced such an opponent. It seems the battle between us is inevitable, commented Emperor Jia after a brief silence. I'm afraid so. Very well. The center of his brow suddenly lit up 5 different colors, and immediately afterward, his aura drastically increased. 60%. 65%. 68%. 69%. 69. 99,999% Grand Dao Source. What is this? I sense a very subtle aura of Eternal Emperor from each of the lights? Thought Wang Wei, and his eyes squinted. Could it be? When Emperor Jia's strength reached his level, he was sure of his theory. He's trying to enter the taboo realm by following a path similar to the 9-extremity foundation. He proves the Dao, condenses his strength into a seed, reincarnates, and does it again. Then, once he's become an Eternal Emperor 9 times, he can fuse his power together to form a unique Dao body that can break the limitation and enter the taboo realm. Wang Wei's brow furrowed. This plan sounds doable, but there is a major flaw: true heavenly Dao. It would not allow someone to prove the Dao 9 times, let alone become an Eternal Emperor 9 times. No, it probably wouldn't let anyone participate in the Heaven will battle a second time unless they abandon their status as emperors. So, how did he protect his seeds from being detected or annihilated? Thunder Destruction Rune, Lighting Bolt Rain. A strange rune appeared above Emperor Jia's head, releasing billions of dark short lightning bolts. Wang Wei observed while evading, and the bolts were numerous and followed him. Thunder and Destruction Dao, and it's the pinnacle, he analyzed. There is a restriction in versatile Dao, such as Talisman, Array, Battle, or Fist, that can use other laws through resonance, knowledge/understanding. For example, if a talisman maker wishes to create a top-tier time talisman, they need a deep understanding of time Dao. Otherwise, their talisman will be weak, or they might not even succeed in the creation process. However, in this short exchange, Wang Wei could tell Emperor Jia had such a deep understanding of Thunder and Destruction Dao to the point it appeared as if he was a pinnacle heaven chosen who proved the Dao in these Daos. Wang Wei pointed his 2 fingers to make a slashing motion. A powerful silver slash rushed toward Emperor Jia, slicing through all the lighting bolts of destruction. A new rune materialized, releasing the fluctuation of space Dao. The rune swallowed the attack before releasing thousands of space slashes. Time rune, thought Wang Wei before uttering, all things are fated to die as the universe plunged into death, returning to primordial chaos. The all-white void battlefield turned gray momentarily, and then all the destructive bolts and space slashes dissipated. They followed natural law and returned to chaos. The world is cyclical. After primordial chaos, a new world will be born and start the process. After uttering these words, one side of the void battlefield turned green, fighting the gray area. The 2 colors confronted each other briefly before canceling the other. Wang Wei took a step forward, appearing before Emperor Jia, punching him in the face. However, his hand went through the latter's head as he only attacked an afterimage. Wang Wei teleported again, and this time he hit a solid shield that rebounded his force, which he then redirected due to his absolute control. Emperor Jia dispersed into a mote of light as his real body appeared in the distance. He summoned a new ruin that shot spears containing the power of death. Something is wrong, thought Wang Wei. The way he avoids direct confrontation at all costs is a mistake that someone with top battle experience would not make. It's fine if someone prefers distant combat, but they should never make it so obvious. Is his battle experience really bad? Thought Wang Wei before using a few attacks to test out his theory. It's not bad, But it's also not at the level of an old monster who was once a boundless paragon, thought Wang Wei. What's the reason? He's either doing it on purpose for an unknown plan, or the memories from his time as a paragon are still sealed. Wang Wei reversed yin and yang so that Emperor Jia's runes or words have the opposite meaning of what they are intended to. He also modified the rules in the surroundings, following the saying language is deceiving. In other words, all the runes used should have a completely different effect than intended. He rushed toward his opponent as Emperor Jia summoned a new rune. Wang Wei squinted as he realized his technique was cancelled. No, not cancel, they became errors. Error Dao? That's new. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1093 Another possibility? It was an odd sensation for Wang Wei after figuring out this error Dao technique. It reminded him back on Earth when he used a certain website when he was young, and the screen turned black, releasing an annoying sound with the word, error, followed by a number plastered on the screen. Wang Wei raised his hand to summon all the karmic thread connected to Emperor Jia before pulling him forward with them. The ancient emperor only moved a few meters before the karmic threads became rigid and refused to listen to others. Fated destination, Wang Wei appeared next to Emperor Jia to punch him. As expected, the latter's first instinct was to move away, but his attack was destined to hit, and since he had already made the wrong response, Wang Wei hit him on the head. Crack. A mirror appeared before Emperor Jia's head, trying to reflect the attack back to Wang Wei. This method succeeded, but a lot of the force from the attack forced Emperor Jia to take a few steps back, drawing blood from his nose. Defensive capabilities are superb, and his body is one step higher than mine, but he's not using it, analyzed Wang Wei as his Proving Dao artifact turned into a spear, and he threw it with enormous force. Emperor Jia waved his hand to deflect the weapon, but the spear turned into millions of silver needles that rushed toward him. Omicron Emperor Jia's face turned ugly as he realized these things were not simple needles. They were each blessed with a single destiny, only one specific thing can block them. For example, one needle might require the power of thunder to block, the other might need vibration or death, and if any other things are used, these things would pass through the defense like a knife through butter. Such a technique would require the individual to condense each needle individually, which would take a tremendous amount of time and patience. Emperor Jia's first instinct was to find a way to evade, but he controlled himself. World of Rune, a black spot resembling a black hole the size of a tennis ball materialized before Emperor Jia, releasing millions of lights, each with a different attribute corresponding to the counter to these silver needles. However, these things were too fast and a few dozen hit him, but he ensured they only touched non-vital parts while protecting his inside with his true will. He's learning, thought Wang Wei as he watched Emperor Jia's battle experience increase at an alarming rate. He gathered the power of his soul and released a terrifying spiritual arrow that broke all of Emperor Jia's spiritual protection and went directly to his soul. Bang! A terrifying wave of spiritual energy came out of nowhere and confronted the spiritual arrow. Wang Wei finally saw what had happened. A rune hung above the latter's sea of consciousness and opened a portal to somewhere full of yin energy. That's samsara, thought Wang Wei, recognizing what was on the other side of the portal and the source of all that energy. I was right. He used a spell to determine my biggest reliance and strength, and he discovered the pill, my soul, and something else, probably my willpower. So, he prepared in advance how to deal with these things. Wang Wei's body moved on its own as it sensed danger, but a light pierced his left shoulder. Emperor Jia's pale face sighed in relief as he had time to heal the damage to his sea of consciousness while also going on the offensive. Wang Wei looked at his bleeding shoulder. How long has it been since someone drew blood from me? He wiped the blood with his right hand before tasting it. How I missed the sensation of being injured. It was not the same when he injured himself during the flesh tribulations. He released a terrifying battle intent, increasing his battle strength by another 0.000000000000000000009. He rushed toward Emperor Jia, and more hidden lights attacked him. He had already deduced that this technique was based on hidden words or meanings, so he did not detect any runes or attacks. The lights followed him, but he evaded, and the ones he could not detect or predict would accidentally miss him by a few margins or experience trillions of years before touching him. Boom! An enormous beam of light materialized out of nowhere and headed for Wang Wei, forcing him to block it with his palm. He resisted but could feel the skin in his hands rapidly burning. His battle experience is indeed increasing at an exponential rate? Is he regaining his memory? Analyzed Wang Wei. No, he's absorbed He-Shi's experience, hence the rapid change. Wang Wei felt he was catching into something, but it was still eluding him. Wanna play hiding in the shadows? Two can play at this game. He decided to change tactics. The light beam eradicated every atom in his body, including his soul. Such a result should have been a victory for Emperor Jia, but he sensed things were not simple and remained on the highest alert. Heavenly Daos records. Emperor Jia's eyes turned to runes before looking around. He was rapidly swiping through the records of heaven and earth, digging through the universe's fundamental truths. He saw the enemy had used the concept that fate was invisible to become undetectable, but he could not see the person itself. Swish. Wang Wei appeared out of nowhere while swinging a gray sword. However, Emperor Jia moved his body, preventing the blade from cutting off his left arm. Although it left a gushing wound from his upper torso to his right hand, it was better than losing the arm. Thought Wang Wei, surprised by how he successfully evaded this attack. For a moment, he thought Emperor Jia's intuition had reached such a level in such a short time in the battle. However, after seeing a creature made of runes flashed in his eyes, he understood. The untouchable cat. Wang Wei knew the creature was an innate life called the untouchable cat, known for its evading law. The myth of the untouchable cat is that it has never been injured or touched, as its body would instinctively evade all danger. Wang Wei speculated his ancestor, the battle maniac, created this technique after seeing one in his youth or the upper dimension. All these thoughts flashed into Wang Wei's mind at an incalculable speed. As his enemy evaded the first strike, his body reacted and kicked Emperor Jia on his neck, sending him flying. He appeared next to the flying body to slash it again, but Emperor Jia dexterously moved his body to evade. In this short period, he blessed himself with numerous techniques to improve his intuition, like beast intuition, seventh sense, conscious body, etc., world of liar. Wang Wei wanted to continue the initiative he had, but he found himself in a black cage. This is... he muttered. This technique was similar to his fate prison, except in this world, everything was a lie. You use your feet to walk, lie. Your hands are dexterous, lie. You can defy gravity and fly, lie. You have a physical and tangible soul, lie. You have a mother and father, lie. You were born and will eventually die, lie. Wang Wei felt his body, soul, mind, spirit, Dao, and everything else that made his existence rapidly crumble because all these things were not true. Even his memories began to self-destruct because they were no longer reliable. They were no longer true. Brilliant, thought Wang Wei with difficulty. Yin-yang balance. Since there is a world of lies, there must also be a world of truths. When they are fused, only the real and normal universe exists, a world full of truths and lies. As the cage disintegrated, a dark beam of light was waiting for Wang Wei, but he smirked. He used a page from Emperor Jia's book by controlling truth, and I with his yin-yang Dao. The new truth was that he was standing in Emperor Jia's position while the latter stood where he was. In other words, they exchanged positions. Bang! It was a direct hit, and once the attack ended, Emperor Jia was breathing heavily and had dark, burning-looking spots on his body. I was right. All his increased battle experience originated from He-Shi. If so, why didn't his other reincarnations increase his battle IQ? Emperor Jia should be on his 5th reincarnation, so it was odd that his battle IQ and experience were not the pinnacle given his displayed talent. The only explanation would be that he also sealed these memories, or... Wang Wei squinted his eyes as he thought of another possibility. He's not a former paragon. He was just a regular heaven chosen in the lower dimension who received the inheritance of a higher being, someone like Madman Chu who explained how to cast the unique Dao body that can enter the taboo realm. It's very possible that the inheritance was directly from Madman Chu. He would have to stay hidden after his reincarnation not to garner true heavenly Daos attention. This would explain his lack of battle experience, as he only participated in the heaven will battle, crushing his opponents with high cultivation levels or battle prowess. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Then, during the battle, he had to get accommodated to this new life and body, further revealing more information. And when facing someone like Wang Wei, the slightest clue is enough to put all the puzzle pieces together. You did, nodded Wang Wei. Everything is negotiable except for that. Then we have nothing to talk about. Is this thing any useful to you? continued Emperor Jia. You must reincarnate and start from scratch. There are no alternate methods like the Nine Extremity Foundation. So, are you prepared to give up everything to walk this path? Maybe, maybe not, but that's for me to decide. You are someone burdened with a great destiny. Are you willing to give up everything just for the taboo realm? It's not a question of whether I'm willing but whether I have the choice, countered Wang Wei. Once I have the inheritance, I'll know whether it's worth giving up everything. In that case, how about I tell you about all my understanding of the taboo realm? I won't hold back. I'll tell you everything except the exact method. Still no, replied Wang Wei while shaking his head. Emperor Jia became silent for a few seconds, weighing his options. He was deciding whether to reveal more information and the danger that came with it. Ultimately, he decided to gamble. What if I told you my method was flawed or incomplete? What do you mean? The method only went as far as the 5th reincarnation, Emperor Jia revealed. From the 6th to 9th reincarnation, that's when I can successfully break through the taboo realm, but the inheritance does not have the remaining part. Wang Wei frowned, wondering if he was telling the truth. He's probably telling the truth if he wants to negotiate in good faith. After all, he should guess I would take precautionary measures to ensure he's not screwing me, analyzed Wang Wei. So, what will happen if you reincarnate a 6th time? He asked. True heavenly Dao will immediately detect me, replied Emperor Jia truthfully. That makes sense, nodded Wang Wei. Sadly, my answer is still negative. What? I think I've displayed enough good faith? Do you think I don't know the taboo realm method is not the most valuable part of your inheritance? Sneered Wang Wei. The method of using paradox to change the records of true heavenly Dao and make sure it ignores you, how can I pass up such a thing? Emperor Jia sighed. He tried his best to prevent news about the paradox from being revealed, but the people from the Purple Heaven Temple were stubborn, and a few people escaped his grasp. By the time he dealt with them, it was too late. He tried damage control, but the people in this world were not stupid, so it's understandable someone figured out some of his plans once they learned of the paradox. I guess there is no point in negotiation. Wang Wei shrugged his shoulders since he knew the latter was unwilling to hand over the inheritance, and if he were in his shoes, he would have made the same choice. Injury Suppression Rune. The dark burning spots on Emperor Jia's body disappeared as he temporarily suppressed his injury, returning to his peak battle state. Then he used his ultimate technique, Error Dao, Disruptor Rune. The world suddenly became dark with countless broken chains scattered everywhere in the void battlefield. Wang Wei observed these chains and they resembled the ones from the Grand Dao source. He also saw tiny runes in the place where they were broken. This is. Wang Wei was genuinely shocked as he realized his Daos could not work properly. No, he could not summon them except for his Fate Dao, but it was working like an old computer with slow processing. This technique is beyond brilliant, thought Wang Wei. He could tell this technique was the pinnacle of Emperor Jia's Rune Dao, and he must have spent all his 5 lives to refine and cultivate it. Let's end this. Chains appeared in the sky before rushing toward Wang Wei. He tried to use his Fate Dao to weave a new universe around him, thus isolating him from his battlefield and the technique, but he soon realized it would take him more than 3 hours to succeed. For beings of their caliber that need to make split decisions in attoseconds, 3 hours might as well be an infinite amount of time. He did not even try using his other Daos, knowing they would be even worse. My flesh has been weakening, but it's not as bad as my Dao, thought Wang Wei, who swiftly changed tactics. He moved his body to move, but the chains were fast and on his tail. He knew he could not evade for long. Essence, Qi spirit conversion. He converted all the soul energy in his sea of consciousness into physical strength to increase his fleshly body. He used his true will to its full effect, focusing slowly on boosting his body. Since my Dao cannot work outward, they might do so inward. Wang Wu used his Dao to improve his flesh, raising it to another height. Bang! Wang Wei punched the chain, breaking a small part. Emperor Jia sighed silently, such terrifying battle IQ. This was the pinnacle of his achievement, and yet the opponent quickly found a way to adapt and survive. The long chain turned into a rain of golden lights. Wang Wei tried to evade, but there were too much and too fast even for his fleshly body speed or defense. Additionally, as they impaled him, he noticed his flesh and internal system were also being disrupted. He remained calm while his mind worked on overdrive. He pushed all his 365 future Buddha self to the limit, trying to find a countermeasure. While thinking, he changed his essence, scattering his body and soul into their individual atoms and particles. In this horrifying state, Emperor Jia must target his individual atom and spirit particle, but each of these things contained Wang Wei's will and evading ability. Additionally, atoms could move way faster than when together as a whole. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1095 Behind the Scenes? Emperor Jia's eyes could see all the trillions of atoms and particles, each dodging his attacks. He squinted his eyes before using a rune that forces all essence, spirit, and qi to take one solid and concentrated form. As such, Wang Wei's body reorganized into a whole. Omicron M. A light spear rushed towards Wang Wei's head, and it was too fast for him to evade, so he used his bone substitution to avoid death. He then punched the sky using the dragon zodiac art, trying to destroy the disruption concept of this technique. Sadly, this method failed. Although this technique had the weakest effect on the flesh, it still disrupted it. Additionally, after injuring him, these light beams or arrows further corrupted or disrupted his flesh. 3 more arrows pierced Wang Wei's body, and his aura further weakened. His eyes did not move from Emperor Jia and this technique. His mind was constantly analyzing the situation and coming up with a solution. He knew the best method to use was to overwhelm this place with his willpower through willpower manifestation. However, he would not do so because he had predicted that Emperor Jia had prepared for 3 of his advantages: the pill, his soul, and his willpower. Cry of pain, Wang Wei opened his mouth and roared. He mixed a sonic attack with his pain talent. This method worked as Emperor Jia held his head, and his nose bled profusely. Wang Wei rushed forward, trying to touch him and maybe placed an innate fate shackle on him. Alas, a rune appeared behind Emperor Jia to absorb his pain. Meanwhile, Wang Wei had to evade the arrows and rain constantly, and a few still hit him. Bang! Wang Wei sensed great danger from behind, and his body acted out instinct, activating the void power in his flesh, entering an intangible and all-encompassing state. However, he lost his left arm from this black beam attack despite his actions. His eyes shone brilliantly as he found a way to deal with this situation. Everything returns to nothingness. He instantly released all the power of nothingness in his flesh to reduce the power of disruption into nothingness. However, as proven by his missing arm, it was not enough to destroy this technique but bought him enough time. In his immediate surroundings, Wang Wei could now barely use his Dao, and he immediately acted. Rewriting order, he used a technique he created on the spot. Through his fate and order disorder Dao, he recreated all the orders, disorders, truths, and Daos of the universe. In other words, he recreated the universe as it was, removing all the Dao disruption of Emperor Jia. A golden light appeared on Wang Wei's palm, and after releasing it, the broken chains on the sky mended themselves, returning to their original state. This method only went as far as the 5th reincarnation because, after the 6th, true heavenly Tao would notice the problem and fix it. So, the inheritance encouraged its owner to travel to a chaos world that is not part of the primary 3800 to continue the remaining reincarnation. Although it did not say why, Wang Wei deduced the truth. The power ceiling of true heavenly Tao on these chaos worlds is paragon tier instead of half-step transcendence, meaning they are easier to trick. This paradox ceremony involves countless systems and knowledge probably not from the eternal ascension world. The creator must be a well-traveled individual in primordial chaos and has studied true heavenly Tao extensively. Wang Wei finished the preliminary processing of this inheritance. The thing should be very beneficial for many things, including his goal of creating a unique Tao body to enter the taboo realm. So, he focused on how to deal with Emperor Jia. Firstly, he copied the latter's rune book. He knew Wu Hong should be very interested in this thing, especially the disruption rune. Secondly, he sealed the 4-symbol mirror and put it in his interdimensional space. Lastly was Emperor Jia's body. It's not feasible for me to reincarnate, but what if I absorb his body? Wang Wei could imagine the benefit of having such a foundation, and it might be possible for him to enter the taboo realm without relying on the dark truth. He raised his remaining hand to start the process before stopping midway. Something is wrong, said Wang Wei, lowering his hand and thinking. I've assumed this inheritance is from Madman Chu and thus safe, but thinking deeply about it, I realize it may not be from him. This writing was different. It did not contain his cold and calculative tones like a mad scientist. It did not even contain his rambling madness that often creeps out. His brow furrowed as he further analyzed the situation. Emperor Jia said I was responsible for messing with his 5th reaction, but I did no such thing. I doubt a person of his caliber would make such a mistake even if it were his intuition, so what's the cause of him feeling that way? The answer immediately popped in his mind. I did it, but not the current me, it was my future self. So, why would I interfere in Emperor Jia's reincarnation across space and time? Is it simply to hand over this inheritance? Is it a way to tell me Wu Hong's perfect foundation is not the way? Wang Wei grunted in frustration. It was a pain having to deduce future events with limited information about the present. Another possibility is Emperor Jia is someone else's pawn, and my future self disrupted his reincarnation to deal with him. If that's the case, this person might be targeting me. If they knew my personality, they could deduce my instinct would be to swallow Emperor Jia, fucking me and my future self in the process by altering the past. Chapter 1096 Terrifying Enemy. The first person Wang Wei thought of was one of the 6 cardinals, the Magistrate of Heaven. From Wu Hong's notebooks, he learned the basic names of these 6 individuals, and Wang Wei believed if there were someone with the strength, knowledge and possible motive to scheme against him across space and time, it would be him. However, Wang Wei had his reservation about this deduction for a few reasons. The inheritance does not seem to come from someone who created true heavenly Dao but from someone who knows a great deal about it after years of research. Secondly, the fact that the inheritance only went as far as the 5th reincarnation and encouraged its owner to travel to a non-primary source chaos world was a sign that someone with limited power or ability did it. Of course, Wang Wei considered the possibility that the Magistrate of Heaven did it on purpose to remove suspicions from himself. Even commenting about leaving the world to continue the inheritance might be another trap. The second person Wang Wei doubted was Heavenly Book Paragon. As the person who holds the Paragon title or position of Heaven Dao, he would have the capabilities and knowledge for this inheritance. And as a Fate Star, Heavenly Book Paragon had the intelligence and ingenuity to devise such a brilliant idea. The issue is why this man is targeting me? I've never met or offended him, thought Wang Wei, and after a brief analysis he figured many things out. What does someone like Heavenly Book Paragon, who has reached the end of the Paragon realm, want to achieve? The answer is obvious since it applies to everyone on or near his level Transcendence. Heavenly Book never participated in the Second Origin War. Why? He either couldn't or did not want to. If we follow the latter's line of thinking, why would he not want to participate in an event with such major ramifications? He either knew it would not work or had another method of achieving transcendence, maybe both. With Heavenly Book's intelligence, it's not far-fetched for him to deduce what Qiyuan wanted to achieve and even predict his failure. So, he used the event and the power vacuum afterward to spread his power and influence all over the Chaos Universe. Wang Wei had chills running down his spine as he realized how much power Heavenly Book Paragon might have if he took full advantage of all these paragons entering limbo across the Chaos Universe. If I were him, I would create pawns in every primary source chaos world and other worlds of significance. Speaking of pawns, could these parasites be related to him in any way? Wang Wei paused as this idea was also feasible. It's possible they were once Heavenly Book's pawns, but he had to abandon them once Maitreya and Supreme Unity came back into the picture. Wang Wei's brow furrowed deeply as he realized the severity of the situation. There is a high chance that a future version of Heavenly Book Paragon has allied with Grand Dao to deal with him. And with his deep foundation from the ultimate taboo events, he will truly be a formidable foe. No, maybe not just his future self. Paragons have way more leniency regarding messing with the river of time. So, it's not impossible for him to already have contact with Grand Dao. Wang Wei suddenly realized his genuine opponent after ascending is not the parasites or even Supreme Unity, but Heavenly Dao Book. This is going to be a major problem. After battling Emperor Jia, he realized his young age was one of his weaknesses. Despite his talent, some of these old geezers simply had too much time ahead of them, allowing them to refine their techniques and abilities to the point that talent was not enough to fill the gap. He could use time acceleration to compensate, but a person like Heavenly Dao Book can also use time acceleration, rendering this advantage null. I need to find a way to travel back in time and make use of it, grunted Wang Wei. In the meantime, my time in primordial chaos should be useful. He reckoned that even if he spent most of his time trying to retain his mortality and his personality from Earth, he should have cultivated his soul and absorption technique to a level on par with these old monsters. All he needs to do is take those techniques that have been refined for trillions of yuan epochs and add his current Dao and other spin on it. Wang Wei checked the seal on his soul. It was still not time to open it since he did not want to deal with the karma that dealt with his past selves, but these memories should become valuable in the Paragon realm. Wang Wei focused on Emperor Jia. He pointed at the latter's forehead to reduce his soul into pure energy before adding one of his spirit particles to become a new soul to this body. He blessed the particle with Emperor Jia's fate line to ensure no one could tell the difference. "You know what to do," said Wang Wei after the latter opened his eyes. "I do." Emperor Jia's body suddenly became pale and grew dark spots before cutting his left arm. He left the void battlefield, and as soon as he stepped out, Wang Wei pointed his finger, and the entire lower dimension sensed an anomaly, but they could not detect the cause. They knew something major had happened but did not know exactly what. This should be enough. He had planned everything, including not allowing anyone to watch this battle. He silently teleported to the court and called 4 people: Li Jun, Yan Liling, his mother, and Su Shi. Everyone immediately appeared, and Yu Yan asked calmly, "Are you all right?" "Oh, this?" said Wang Wei, looking at his missing arm. "It should grow back after a few months. It should take a while to remove Emperor Jia's true will and regenerate." He looked at Li Jun and Yan Liling. "I call you two to reassure you." He shifted to the other 2. "In a while, rumors of my death and disappearance will spread. Once that happens, you need to hold a court meeting to reassure people that a small accident occurred, but I'm fine. You must continue the original plan by supporting the Star Beast world." "Will this be alright? What if someone causes trouble?" asked Su Shi. "After the previous bait, they should not be this stupid. Plus, Li Jun and Liling will serve as deterrents." Few people knew about the odes and the fact they could not interfere, so Wang Wei plans to use this fact. Of course, some people must have guessed something after seeing how the Dao opening sect received no luck or destiny blessing after these 2 proved the Dao. "Don't worry. We will hold the fort, so feel free to do as you please," said Yu Yan, and Su Shi nodded. "Thanks, and talk to father for me." His father was approaching the completion of his 9-extremity foundation, but he was still in the swordsmanship world. Wang Wei did not want him to hurry in case he heard the news while on a break or something. After everyone silently left, Wang Wei teleported to a world called Angry Sea World, a place ruled by the sea race while the human race lived on a few scattered islands. This realm is also the place where number 9 or Xiao Weiyuan proved the Dao. Wang Wei appeared on a deserted island, and less than 10 seconds later, Wang Ju appeared before him on one knee. "How did it go?" "I'm sorry," said Wang Ju, lowering her head in shame. "Did something happen?" asked Wang Wei. "We captured everyone else, but number 1 escaped." "How can he escape under your hands?" "I don't know exactly, but he immediately detected something wrong and escaped, leaving everyone behind. I tried to find him afterward, but my divination was blocked." She shielded him with the power of the 4-symbol mirror. "I will deactivate the protection, so go retrieve him," said Wang Wei before summoning the mirror and using it. Wang Ju activated all her strength before disappearing. She returned less than a minute later with a captured number 1. "Did he talk to anyone?" "I checked, and the answer is no. He was more focused on running away." "Good. Where are the others?" Wang Ju summoned the other spies and Wang Wei searched their souls. He only succeeded for 3 of them as the remaining 6 had slave marks on their souls, and he did not want to touch this thing. He then used his spirit particle to enslave the markless ones while hypnotizing the mark ones. "I need you to return to your homeworlds and—" "Yes, master." 9x. These spies disappeared, leaving Wang Wei and Wang Ju. Although brute force is oftentimes the quickest way to do things, it's usually not the most optimized approach for maximum benefit. "You know your next step?" "Yes," bowed Wang Ju. "Once again I apologize for my failure." "It's fine. Go to your task." Wang Wei knew no plans were guaranteed and usually accounted for possible mistakes. He would only reprimand her if the failure were the result of her incompetence or mistake. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1097 Too Smooth. Primordial Chaos, Red Mist, Forbidden Land. Heavenly Book opened his eyes to look in the distance. The plan failed? However, such news was not unexpected. He would be disappointed if someone who had reached the level of competing with Grand Dao had fallen for such a ruse. He checked his book and as expected there were more words. His main objective was to affect the river of time and increase the book's content, which he succeeded. He already deduced it was me? Interesting, he may be a bigger threat than I anticipated, thought Heavenly Book. Does he have a connection with the prehistoric world? Things are getting complicated. He closed the book before entering a state of meditation. He had found clues about the origin of Buddhism, so it wouldn't be long before he could exchange with Madman Chu. Eternal Ascension World, Battle Spirit World. He returned to his sect in terrible shape. He reassured his people that he was fine and needed to rest. Less than 10 minutes after his return, the Commerce Hub president contacted him. So they do have people everywhere, thought he who answered the call. The array activated, showing a projection of a scholarly man with glasses. President Tian Wenyan. Is it done? Asked the president, scrutinizing He-Shi's terrible state. Obviously, replied He-Shi. Did you kill him? Do you think that's possible? According to the plan, I exiled him to the upper dimension. So he was this fierce? Muttered the president. Although it would be ideal to kill him, that's good enough for now. In the lower dimension, they have no one to rely on and must live in fear of this man every single day. However, in the upper dimension they can rely on their ancestors. We will send you something to heal. Consider it a gratitude, said the president. No problem, replied He-Shi. A few minutes later he sensed someone outside the battle spirit world. I thought they would use my weakness to attack me. He received the reward, a small pool of Dao holy water. These guys are really rich, thought He-Shi. Dao holy water is a rare healing resource that helps emperors deal with Dao will manifestation and true will injuries. He sent it to Wang Wei without hesitation. Then he activated the sect's formation, entering a state of isolation. Meanwhile, President Tian Wenyan called a meeting of the highest order for all the Commerce Hub's core members. The true rulers. Normally, the core members are composed of 10,000 individuals, each representing top emperor lineages across multiple world communities. However, in this meeting only 200 or so people showed up. His projection appeared before a crowd of people sitting cross-legged on a mat while floating in the air. What happened? Asked a delegate. The plan succeeded, replied Tian Wenyan. He's dead. Is that why there was such a vibration across the endless void? He's not dead but exiled to the upper dimension. That's a shame, commented a female representative. Given the strength we deduce he had, it's understandable. Focus, said the president. Now that he's gone, it's our time to act. So, what's the plan? Do we attack the Dao opening sect? No, let's not rush. What? That monster is not here anymore and I've had enough of those arrogant bastards. They still have more than 9 eternal emperors and you want to attack them while they have the home advantage? Don't let your emotions turn you stupid. You're right. Our plan is to divide their numbers, said Tian Wenyan. We will attack the martial hegemony world and the star beast world, forcing them to stretch their forces. If someone is willing to help us pay the price to break our agreement, the celestial harmony world is more than happy to be a vanguard to the martial hegemony world, said a Taoist priest dressed in blue. However, his words silenced the room. I'm afraid the process is really not worth it, said President Tian Wenyan after a few seconds of awkward silence. I understand, sighed the Taoist. How do we hide our deployment from the Dao opening sect in the myriad emperor world? Their information gathering is top tier. We don't need to hide it, do we? Replied Tian Wenyan. That's right. He's not here so we can kill his people without any trouble. Let's immediately get rid of their manpower at the headquarters. If we act swiftly enough, we can plunder their shops and take their people to turn into our own. The Fate Shadow Guards are truly talented, and killing all of them would be a waste. I second that. I'm afraid it's too late. Everyone looked at the person who spoke, a middle-aged man with blue hair holding a communication talisman. I just received news that they have evacuated. All their shops and people disappeared out of nowhere. That was fast. Soon, everyone started receiving information about the disappearances of the Dao opening sects and the other myriad emperor world factions. They could only sigh, these people moved too fast. The good news is these people's actions further prove that something did happen to him, and she did not lie, reassured Tian Wenyan. Does this change anything? Yes, we must act swiftly if we want to prevent them from being too prepared for our attack, replied President Tian Wenyan. How about we use Tactic Destroyer? It's the fastest way to deal with everything. Absolutely not. We can only use such a method in a desperate situation. The Commerce Hub headquarters was a colossal floating continent in the void. However, few people know the entire continent is the body of a rare creature, the heir of a Tier 10 void creature and a 6-star primordial god Premarch. On top of using such a creature to form a continent/base, They also turn its body into a powerful weapon full of 10,000 emperor formations, billions of Dao arrays and incalculable immortal arrays. Once they activate it, they won't be afraid of the Spirit Genesis sect's broken Empyrean artifact. I agree, said President Tian Wenyan. We are not protected like the Spirit Genesis sect, and the appearance of the destroyer will cause irreparable problems. So what's the plan? I suggest Tactic Mountain. We send as many legions and top powerhouses as possible to crush our enemies as swiftly as possible. The last thing we want is for another variable, so this is the best plan. I agree with this plan. I second it. Since everyone agrees, let's execute the plan, declared President Tian Wenyan before ending the meeting. Hub Headquarters, President Chamber. Tian Wenyan had a deep, pondering look on his face. The meeting proceeded flawlessly, and after being indignant for so long, they were finally about to retaliate. But after calming down, he had a feeling something was wrong. What is the problem? He muttered. His brow furrowed for a few minutes, so he sipped tea to refresh his mind. He had been re-elected in this position 3 times despite only being a Dao ancestor because of his calmness and ability to analyze his decisions to the point of obsession until he was sure there were no issues. Everything is going too smoothly. Although it appeared this was not the case due to how swiftly the Dao opening sect exited the stage, now that he thought about it, everything felt too calculated. Am I being too paranoid? He thought before shaking his head. Even if I am, it's better to be safe than sorry. Tian Wenyan did not hesitate to make a bold decision. Leave the headquarters and return to his home world, the beautiful gold world. Tian Wenyan knew he could return if something were wrong, so he left without hesitation. Myriad Emperor World, Heavenly Court. Why did you two order this meeting and not His Majesty? Why did our people evacuate the commerce hub? Everyone needs to calm down, said Yu Yen, and after seeing who she was, they decided to give her face, considering who her son was. Yu Yen knew this and did not mind since she had very little reputation in this generation. There's been a small issue with my son. What happened to His Majesty? Is he injured again? Please let us see him now. Will you let me finish? She released her aura, and these people were reminded she was an eternal emperor and one of the best. There's been an accident and he's now occupied, unable to show up, she explained slowly. The Commerce Hub thinks he's gone and decided to bare their fangs. They should be attacking our world or our allies. We need to prepare to defend our benefit. The room became silent as these people began to rapidly communicate through divine sense between themselves and the upper echelons of their factions. Chapter 1098 Massive Mobilization. What is the plan? Asked Ao Shen. The enemy is coming at us with full force, said Yu Yen. So, we must restart the War Council, summon all the professions and everyone must be deployed, except for Li Jun and Yen Liling. I understand why the Guardian would remain to protect the world, but why does the Crimson Slaughter Emperor not participate? We could use his strength in this kind of situation. The Samsara Kut has just been established and he cannot leave for a while, explained Yu Yen casually. Some people eyed her while others accepted this explanation. According to my son's arrangements, in time of emergency, Su Shi will become the regent until his return. Everyone was surprised by this news, not only because a regent was appointed but also because it was the Void Time Empress. It would make sense for someone closely related to the Heavenly Emperor to be chosen, let alone someone who originated from a faction that once was the Dao opening sect's greatest opponent. Wouldn't it be more acceptable for you to take the position? After all, you're his mother, suggested someone. Since my son chose her, he must have a reason, explained Yu Yen. Now, she will take over the meeting. Despite being elected leader and standing at the front of the throne room, Su Shi did not sit on the throne. She faced everyone standing up. This is a dire situation, meaning we cannot hold back. Some of you have secretly cultivated eternal insurgents, and they must show up for this battle, declared Su Shi. Everyone frowned. They knew this was an open secret everyone agreed to keep quiet about, but now, it would be brought to the surface. Does that include the Dao opening sect as well? Yes, nodded Su Shi. Our objective is to hold on as long as possible, so we need all the manpower we can get. Then why isn't the Buddha Zen Emperor here? He's in another world and will also be summoned for this battle. Everyone nodded, as only this way would things be fair. Su Shi turned to Ao Shen and said, "Tell the innate demon gods they must participate in this war, and it's non-negotiable." Ao Shen frowned. Is this wise? We've kept them isolated for so long, and the first time we release them they must fight for us. They're fighting for themselves, Su Shi rebutted. Tell them this is the perfect opportunity to show the world they belong here. After this war we will have no issue with trusting them. Their leaders had reached 5-star primarchs, so the myriad emperor world could not pass on such an eternal class powerhouse, knowing the full force of the commerce hub was heading to them. Very well, nodded the Black Dragon. Although this battle is to protect our interests and allies, there will still be benefits. The military list system will be activated, and you can gain merit for your contributions. Even the resources used in the war will also be repaid once we are victorious. Su Shi finally saw some vigor and motivation from these people, and she finally understood why Wang Wei would show disdain sometimes when talking to them. From this point of view, their greed is truly easy to be noticed. Any question? Can we know a rough timeline for when the Heavenly Emperor will return? These people were not stupid, so they knew they could not bully the other worlds in the endless void without such a big boss to back them. And without his presence they do not feel reassured. Su Shi did not answer but looked at Yu Yan. We only need to resist the initial attack and he will return. Those words were both relieving and worrying. Some people wanted to believe them, while others feared that the suddenness of everything indicated that something had happened to the Emperor. Anything else? Who is the commander of this expedition? Tai Gang did an excellent job, so he will be reused again. Unless you have a better option? No, he was brilliant in the former war. I have a follow-up. Should we tell our troops that the Emperor was missing? One reason we won the previous battle was the high morale. That's indeed something worth pondering, uttered Su Shi. She did not immediately decide but instead looked at Tai Gang. What do you think? We have two options, lie and fake the presence of His Majesty. However, if he does not show up soon, the lie will crumble, dealing a devastating blow to our troops' morale, Tai Gang said. As for the second option, he looked at Yu Yan hesitantly. Don't worry, you can say what's on your mind, she reassured. We can use the Queen Mother's name, said Tai Gang calmly. Tell the troops the enemy kidnapped her to force His Majesty to sign a non-intervention contract. Then we can use the banner of avenging the Emperor's grievance and saving the Queen to boost morale and motivate them. Yu Yan grunted silently. She knew the Queen Mother's identity and pondered the consequences of using her name in vain. Do it, she said decisively after a few seconds. Now that everything has been settled, let's begin mobilization, declared Su Shi. Outside the court, what do you think? Asked Huafeng Huang through divine sense. Either something truly happened, or he's scheming something from the shadows, replied Ao Shen. What will you do if it's the former? Ascension, he said directly. Without the Heavenly Emperor present, the myriad Emperor world's glorious destiny of spreading throughout the lower dimension will come to an end. He and every top powerhouse knew this. He'll probably do the same. Really? Given how ambitious you are, I thought you would stay for more power and benefit, sneered Ao Shen. I could say the same to you, replied Huafeng Huang before looking in the distance. We've built something beautiful despite our short time. What is that bastard Wang Wei playing at? I know there is no way something would happen to him. Watch your words, warned Su Shi with a furrowed brow. Whatever, replied Tong Ruobing. I will send you an image of how many troops they have, and you tell me if my anger is unjustified. She already knew she was a pawn in this entire situation and had technically volunteered for the role, but she did not expect things to be so severe. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. After the conversation, she communicated with the Turtle King and realized how severe the situation truly was. The martial hegemony world was also surrounded, and the number was astronomical. She finally understood the scale and power of the commerce hub. The martial hegemony world used the Heavenly Court Array, a powerful defensive array linking the main court with all the heavenly courts in the lower realm. However, their formation was not as good as Tong Rubing's talisman, so they won't last long. After the debriefing, Su Shi immediately called a meeting with the War Room and Tai Gang to discuss the new discovery. If we need more soldiers, we can send 95% of our troops, leaving only 5% to defend ourselves, someone suggested. Wouldn't that mean the defense home would be left wide open? Not necessarily. The mortal craft scholars cannot partake in aggressive expeditions, but their powers can be used to defend their homes from aggression. So, they are a military force of their own in this war. Indeed. Not just them but the mortal civilizations as well, added another advisor. But wouldn't their limit of Tier 4 strength eliminate them from this war? Not if we isolate a part of the world where the rules have been changed so no one can exert power greater than Tier 4. That's a good idea. The meeting was swift and everyone was in a hurry. Su Shi was decisive, making the best decision quickly. She then headed to see Old Man Tianji, tasking Heavenly Dao with creating a battle zone for the mortal civilization using Order Disorder Dao. Meanwhile, news spread about an upcoming change to the world and the fact that mortals might have to participate in this fight. The response to this news was not worry or fear but celebration. The mortal civilizations have always wanted to flex their military might, and an opportunity was presented. It was the same for the mortal Dao clans. The world had been too peaceful under the Heavenly Emperor's reign, so they had little to no chance of showing their strength and putting these cultivators into their place. Su Shi's work had just begun, so she sprang to action. After solving the issue with Old Man Tanaji, her voice echoed throughout the entire world community. From across space and time, from the ancient to the modern day, I command the bodies of all the dead to rise and face this imminent catastrophe. The world trembled slightly, followed by countless dead creatures crawling from the grave. Some were perfectly intact, others had failing body parts or were simply bones. In worlds across the entire dimension, the dead rose up for this battle. But this was not the end. The river of time manifested above the heavens, and dead soldiers suddenly rushed in trove, covering the sky black. Dead bodies from different periods or eras rushed into the present. There were humans, demons, sea races, devils, Buddhist monks, and innate demon gods. Su Shi looked at the result and nodded in satisfaction. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1100 Relaxing. The world was in chaos and a war involving powerhouses from a third of the lower dimension was about to occur. So, where was the man responsible for this momentous event? He was enjoying himself in a small golden pool, holding a drink with one working arm and 10 screens floating before him. Everything is proceeding smoothly, thought Wang Wei, sipping his drink. His plan was straightforward. He faked his disappearance, forcing the Commerce Hub to retaliate by sending a significant portion of their troops, thus leaving their headquarters wide open. So, he sneaked in to secretly refine the core of the headquarters/continent, thus gaining control of the hub's greatest weapon or reliance. His plan even predicted Tian Wenyan's careful personality and retreat, making it easier for him to take control of the continent without the president's interference. Now, I just need to wait for the right time to start the second step, thought Wang Wei before closing the screens. His injuries should heal with the Dao holy water in less than a week. So, he focused his attention on something else. Emperor Jia's inheritance. The paradox ceremony is useless, thought Wang Wei. The only outcome if he tries to use this ceremony a second time is true heavenly Daos detection. However, he expected this as the heavenly book would not want someone else to benefit from his knowledge. However, this inheritance has become the key for me, continued Wang Wei. Despite this flaw, he still benefited immensely from the inheritance. Firstly, he learned much more about Dao bodies and the realm of taboo, so he can try to use his science and technology world to see if he can enter it without using the dark truth. Secondly, the ceremony process involved numerous unique knowledge from different chaos worlds, allowing him to do a few things, such as developing a few preliminary ceremonies. He created a ceremony that combined with the deception array to delay the dissipation of the four-symbol mirror, a ceremony that combined with the array found in the Qin Treasury to delay the dissipation of Dao will manifestation/true will artifacts, and lastly and more importantly, a ceremony that allowed him to fuse his existence with the concept or idea of the Heavenly Emperor. In other words, his plan will finally succeed. From now on, people must erase the entire Heavenly Emperor era that has influenced the lower dimension to kill him. Success is truly an intoxicating thing, chuckled Wang Wei before closing his eyes to complete his ceremonies. Star Beast World Community. Mu Lei and Tong Ruobing floated above the sky, looking in the distance. Are you nervous? Asked Tong Ruobing. A little. You have me, so what do you have to worry about? Tong Ruobing said as she held his hand tightly. You have a point, he replied with a smile. She sent powerhouses from the mortal heart world to target the enemy's Dao heart since force was obviously not the answer. However, Wang Tian's sword cut their Dao heart instead, forcing them to commit suicide before continuing his slaughter. The enemy used the tactic of suddenly increasing their strength to insurgents to catch Wang Tian off guard, but the formation immediately sent them to the fourth layer. Tell these people in the fourth layer to break the formation by force, ordered Deng Chang. The array masters were taking too long for her liking. The third to first layer suffered innumerable casualties in such a brief period, including 2 promising talents with 1 root strength and more than 10 with immortal venerable strength, who died under the hands of that woman named Dong Lifan. Wang Tian just finished killing a group of Dao ancestors that linked hundreds of inner worlds through formation before slicing a group of beast masters from Beastmaster world, followed by a group of madmen from the myriad armament world that forcefully fused their inner world with an emperor artifact to give them a boost in stats. Most of them were teleported to the upper layer, while the remaining ones who failed the fusion died under Wang Tian's sword. Crack. Wang Tian noticed cracks appearing in his surroundings. Is the formation about to collapse? In that case, let's finish this with a bang. His words began to glow with intense light before slashing. Everyone in the third layer heard the sound of something breaking, but nothing changed in their surroundings. No one died or no spatial tear materialized. Then, everybody's aura dramatically waned as they lost their motivation to fight in this war. It was like they were forced to come here, and they resented every single second they had to spend in this heaven-forsaken void. Some wise individuals had figured out what Wang Tian had done. He cut their morale. I have never hated these swordsmen as much as I do today. Deng Chang gritted her teeth, forgetting the fact her Dao companion was a swordsman. Hurry up and prepare for the real battle. Wang Tian left the formation before it finally crashed to return to the back. His current strength was temporary since he had not experienced the final fusion with his incarnations. He still wanted to train them individually to the limit before the final fusion. He saw Dong Lifeng was also waiting. Done? Yes. How was the result? I killed all of them, she replied calmly, and Wang Tian gave her a thumbs up. Although the second layer did not have all the enemy's powerhouses, it was still a significant blow to them after losing so many cultivators. Are you going to continue fighting? He asked. I don't know yet, replied Dong Lifeng. Tai Gang recommended that I return home or go to the martial hegemony battlefield to prevent the enemy from targeting me. But I haven't decided. I recommend you go to the other battlefield and help our side from the shadow, cast nightmare curses on the enemy or something to slow them down and give our soldiers a chance to win. Dong Lifeng nodded as this was one of the plans she considered. Her hesitation stemmed from wondering if there was a better way to help. Wang Tian said no more as he focused his sight on the battlefield. His worry was not for his wife but for his father, who wanted to test out his new eternal class strength in this war. According to him, this was training for his fight against 9 Sunday. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:01 Don't do something stupid. Today is my birthday and am craving some attention as I ponder my passing mortality. So, give me some love in the comments. Mu Lei looked in the distance, silently waiting. He wore black martial clothes with short sleeves showing his muscular arm. He looked at his wife and they nodded to each other. Tong Ruobing pointed at him and tattoos or talisman runes manifested on his arms. They had a plan and it was time to implement it. With all these talisman buffs he was in peak shape for the battle. So he activated his awakening, which was one of the more subtle ones as 10 stars appeared on his pupil. When the formation activated, the insurgents and eternal powerhouses rushed into the fourth layer. A lightning dragon materialized around Mu Lei's fists, and he rushed forward. He bypassed a few pseudo-eternals and genuine eternals, heading directly for the immortal sovereigns. He exploded a demonic immortal sovereign before rushing to another and punching through her heart. Bang! A palm attack hit Mu Lei on his back, but he tanked it with his flesh and the defensive talisman. Purple gold divine punishment thunder. The sky above the void changed as lightning bolts descended from the heavens to kill as many immortal sovereigns and pseudo-eternals as possible. People resisted, and the other eternals rushed toward him, but Mu Lei and Tong Ruobing ignored them and continued evading and targeting the weaker members. After the lightning bolts stopped, the vibration of thunder followed, killing more people by either exploding their bodies or directly targeting their souls. After all, thunder is the nemesis of everything evil and mean in nature. Gravity pull, Mu Lei's star beast body is enough, thus achieving its own gravity rotation and pull. So he released all its power, pulling countless people toward him. They tried to resist, but the pulling force was truly terrifying. Lightning Dominion, Mu Lei controlled the electrical impulses in these people's bodies and exploded them from the inside. As for the people whose bodies were entirely conceptual, it did not matter as they once contained lightning, and were thus susceptible to this technique. Weight-crushing fist, he appeared before a young female immortal sovereign and punched her. He converted the nearly incalculable weight of his body into a crushing force, turning her into meat paste. Mu Lei used a second punch to destroy the array surrounding him before rushing to another target. An Eternal with strength near his peak five-fold, rushed to annihilate Mu Lei, but he activated a talisman on his body and teleported from the attack, reaching another target. He raised his palm to point at the enemy, releasing a terrifying force that exploded them into a blood mist. But I've calculated it 1,000,000 times and took all kinds of precautions, she rebutted. You're messing with forces beyond your comprehension, said Wang Wei. I'm starting to regret letting you keep that blood, don't make me take it back. Fine, said Tong Ruobing. But now that you're here, can you do something? The situation is not looking too good for us. No, it's not time for me to show up yet. Not enough people have died and not everyone has taken the bait. Not enough people dead? Is this your objective? Counter the balance mechanisms by creating this war to kill as many powerhouses as possible? Asked Tong Ruobing, putting a few pieces together. No comment, replied Wang Wei. Although he understood the balance mechanism's necessity and was okay with playing the game, he could still show his dissatisfaction with being restricted in other ways. Anyway, I have blessed you with great luck and fortune, so there is little chance that something will happen to you. But if true Heavenly Dao notices your action and is angered, it could intervene and your protection will mean shit, rebutted Tong Ruobing. Haven't people told you before that you don't have to show your intelligence? You should not say certain things out loud even if you know it. What the fuck does that even mean? Forget it, your actions just reminded me of a bastard, replied Wang Wei. As I was about to say, consider this battle a preparatory training for the hell you'll suffer once you ascend and the real war begins. This is not a valid excuse for your inaction and putting so many lives at risk, swiftly said Tong Ruobing, but no one answered. Hello, are you there? Still no answer. Damn that bastard. What happened? Asked Mu Lei. It's Wang Wei, she said through divine sense and explaining the entire situation. I told you I had a bad feeling about this plan, replied Mu Lei. That blood is dangerous and you should not mess with it. At least wait until we're more powerful to explore. So you're on his side? Mu Lei's lips twitched. Of course not. As always, you're always correct. Tong Ruobing gave him an annoyed look before exhaling deeply. Maybe you're right, I've been too obsessed. Her competitive nature got the best of her as she thought the drop of blood was the key to surpassing Wang Wei. Now, she realized she may have been on a precipice of a horrifying calamity. I'm glad you can understand, nodded Mu Lei. Many people think his wife is headstrong, cruel, and an opportunist who will do anything for profit and benefit, but he knows that she tends to take things too far and most of the time, it's not out of malice, especially regarding any form of competition or race. After the little gift, the enemy suffered tremendously, but their forces outnumbered the myriad Emperor World's allied forces. Why do I need to show up? So I can fight you again? I want a revenge match. I don't fight cowards, said Wang Wei with a sneer. Coward? You dare call me a coward? Red veins surfaced on the monkey's neck and eyes. The Yi Dafu I knew was always ready for battle. But the one before me is a coward who is refusing to participate in the biggest war in the lower dimension since the innate acquired war. So no, I won't fight you. Bastard, roared Yi Dafu, shaking the entire primordial demon world. His aura forced 99% of demons to cower in fear. Your Majesty, don't? Shut up, he said, looking at the person who spoke with red eyes. I know he's baiting me. The spoken court minister smiled wryly while lowering his head. If you know someone is baiting you and you actively fall for it, there is no difference if you don't know. Prepare all our troops, we're participating in this war, declared Yidafu. And you, bastard Wang, once this is over, I want my rematch. Even though you know you can't win? Doesn't matter. My anger will not be abated without smacking you a few times with my pole. Well, I respect that, chuckled Wang Wei before communicating through divine senses with the steward. All this effort and he accepted the offer after angering him, sighed the steward. Who knew it would be so easy? You're not giving the monkey his respect. You mean this outburst was a facade? Steward asked in shock. The elders in his court have been doing everything possible to rein in his unruly personality for their own selfish motives so he could be a better heavenly emperor. However, he was sick of it and used this opportunity to do as he pleases. The steward smiled wryly. It's true, no one who can become an eternal emperor is ever simple. Truer words have never been said, commented Wang Wei. Anyway, you don't need to head to the ancient spirit world. Did something happen? The ancient spirit was an associate of the Commerce Hub, so they were last in line for an alliance. Yes, they've chosen their sides, replied Wang Wei. That's a shame. So, what's my next assignment? Do you want me to return home to partake in the war? No need. Go to these worlds and see if they can join our alliances. Wang Wei gave him a list before his presence disappeared. Ancient Spirit World. Feng Heng sat cross-legged on a mat inside a small wooden cabin, moving the prayer beard using his right hand. This was a terrible location for an honored guest such as himself, but he did not mind the latter's attempt to humiliate or portray him in a terrible light. Once they showed him his abode, he thanked the guide and calmly lived in this hut. Feng Heng slowly opened his eyes, stopped the prayer bead and sighed. The hut suddenly exploded into pieces, but he remained calm. He looked at the two people before him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1103 Philosophical Clash. Khutulun wore a blue deal with designs of a black wolf, a golden sash around her waist, and a headdress with colorful beads and buttons perfectly intertwined with her long hair. She exuded an aura of beauty, grace, and power. Meanwhile, her brother Taoyui wore red and gold monk robes, had a bald head, and clasped his hands together. He had a more peaceful aura with a well-hidden fierceness. His arm was slightly muscular for a monk, which only accentuated his warrior subaura. Amit Ba, said Feng Heng, remaining calm after these intruders essentially attacked him. He looked at Taoyui and said, Venerable, is this necessary? We are monks, so why resolve to use violence to solve our issue? I also don't want to use violence, but I don't have a choice, Taoyui replied. We cannot disobey the Commerce's hub orders. You know of the rumors about His Majesty. Do you think something really happened to him? Why did you choose the losing side in this battle? If nothing happens to him, why hasn't he shown up? Because he's playing chess with the entire world, Feng Heng explained calmly. That's why our people are willing to follow him and fight in this war that seems hopeless by all accounts. We know as long as we follow him, we will be the final winner. Unfortunately, we do not have this kind of blind faith. Feng Heng looked at him briefly before shifting his eyes to Khutulun. Shadow Monarch Empress, why don't you be the voice of reason and stop your brother? Monk, don't waste your time, replied Khutulun. Since we chose to walk this path, we will see it through to the end. They've been a duo since she was young, with his brother being the brain and she being the muscle. So, she usually left all the decisions to him even if she sometimes disagreed. Feng Heng exhaled deeply, not hiding his frustration. So he said, why don't we stop this nonsense? This poor monk knows you chose this path because you don't want to partake in the public dharma discussion. Taoyui frowned. Since you know the truth, why beat around the bush? I just wish Venerable would come to his senses, replied Feng Heng. Your new branch is susceptible to corruption, and I merely wish to prevent any future accidents. You want to talk about corruption after what you guys did throughout the lower dimension? Sneered Taoyui. We have made a mistake and atoned for it. Now we just do not want to repeat it. You're so righteous, aren't you? Asked Taoyui mockingly. Tell me, if I decide to make a deal with you now to trust me and give me some time to develop, and before ascending, I will ensure to live measures to prevent corruption, would you accept it? Of course. Without the public Thermon debate or your interference. Feng Heng was silent. There it is, sneered Taoyui. What you want is to establish your prestige to ensure your branch of Buddhism is the mainstream. Amit Ba, chanted Feng Heng. I may be a Buddha but also a man with desires and ambitions. I've spent my life for the revival of Buddhism, and I cannot allow uncontrollable variables that may cause the previous suffering. Feng Heng slowly stood up from the floor. Finally showing your true color, sneered Taoyui. And you've never hidden your ambitions, countered Feng Heng. Their eyes met, followed by their aura which twisted the surrounding space. Luckily they have evacuated all the civilizations and weak cultivators. This poor monk does not want to kill unnecessary lives, said Feng Heng. Your world should have a void battlefield. Let's fight there. Very well. Khutulun waved his hand to open a portal, and Feng Heng entered after checking for traps. He found himself in a large space with a very sturdy space. Boom. A magnificent flame rushed toward Feng Heng, and this was not an attack but the result of this battlefield's environment. Feng Heng activated his awakening, manifesting as a black and white mandala floating behind him. Taoyui's awakening was a red mask making a fierce look, and Khutulun had shadow wings. Suppress Feng Heng's Proving Dao artifact, a golden prayer bead necklace, floated above those two, releasing a terrifying pressure to suppress them. Thousands of shadow tentacles rushed from Khutulun's body to strike the bead necklace, but it was useless. Luckily for her, Taoyui's arrow came to assist her. The bead trembled but remained steady. Then, a golden palm descended from the sky to suppress these two even more. A shadow covered the two siblings and they disappeared from their location. Shadow Wind Arrow, an invisible array rushed toward Feng Heng with immeasurable speed. However, such a tactic was useless to someone with yin-yang eyes, so he casually raised his hand to catch and crush the arrow. Buddhist travel. The Buddha has escaped the physical limitation of his body and the material world. His mind is everywhere so he can be everywhere. With one step, Feng Heng appeared before them and slapped his palm, releasing a powerful force that sent those two flying. They crashed into a thunder zone in this void battlefield, almost injuring themselves a second time. Luckily, Taoyui used a divine ability to grant them immunity from elemental damage. Shadow Creature. Two shadowy creatures appeared behind Khutulun, one with hands made of curved blades and the other with spikes on her torso, back and legs. They appeared next to Feng Heng and tried to hack him into pieces. However, a golden light swiftly dissipated their bodies. Yin-yang Closing Disc. Two yin-yang symbols appeared above and below the siblings, trying to crush them into meat paste. And this time around, Khutulun could not use shadow teleportation. As the pressure loomed on them, Khutulun had a brilliant idea, and she disappeared from the trap. Did she use the ancient spirit realm as the medium for her teleportation? Her battle IQ is better than I expected, thought Feng Heng looking in the distance. Fake Nirvana. Feng Heng clasped his hand, and his body released a holy light. The barbarian siblings suddenly looked dazed with a dream smile. It was like they were in an ultimate state of happiness. In some ways that's exactly what they were feeling. Peaceful, blissful, and liberated from the cycle of life and death. The siblings were enjoying the joy of achieving nirvana and obtaining the ultimate liberation of the mind. As Feng Heng was about to seal them, a light rushed out of Taoyui's head before turning into an enormous black figure with a bare upper torso, dragon head, and 1,000 arms. The figure released a fierce and warlike aura. This is... Feng Heng's yin-yang eyes rotated and he saw the truth. This was a god created from incense by Taoyui so that his followers could visualize and accelerate their path to enlightenment. Feng Heng sighed as one of his concerns proved to be correct. The deity which this new branch of Buddhism created is a warrior type, thus already starting their path of putting power above studying and comprehending the Dharma. The siblings escaped the illusion of achieving nirvana with the summon of this deity. Meanwhile, tattoos appeared on Khutulun's body as she summoned her ancient spirit, the shadow snake wolf. The angry punishing deity slapped Feng Heng with all his thousands of arms, each striking so fast that it appeared not to have moved. Simultaneously, the wolf's snake tail disappeared, heading for Feng Heng's throat. A yin-yang shield appeared to protect Feng Heng, bouncing off all the deity's powerful strikes. Even the sneak attack of the wolf's tail failed. A golden Buddha appeared behind him with thousands of hands and he retaliated. The angry punishing deity tried to keep up as it boosted its speed even further. Sadly, Feng Heng's thousand-hand Buddha was too fast due to his yin-yang Dao, which controlled speed and slowness. Khutulun tried to assist by blessing the deity with her shadow power, making many of his hands invisible and allowing them to teleport through a shadow dimension. The attempt was futile as the Golden Buddha landed blow after blow. Feng Heng even gathered the natural disasters in the void battlefield to bless his attacks with certain elemental properties. Some of his hand strikes contained flame, ice, thunder, etc. The deity roared in pain and anger as it had never felt so insulted. The anger seemed to trigger some hidden power, and its aura increased. Its black skin or body turned shades of red, and it grew dozens of eyes in its dragon head. Buddha has no form and is empty, but this appearance is almost demonic, muttered Feng Heng, shaking his head. Return to your root, absolute beginning magic. As soon as he uttered these words, the deity's body began to disintegrate as it returned to its original state, a state of non-existent. Damn it, cussed Taoyui. He had spent so much time and resources to condense this powerful deity, and now all his efforts were wasted. Veins appeared on his bald head. Calm down, said Khutulun. We need to go all out or we won't stand a chance against him. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. He summoned it from the future, said Khutulun 5, a tall woman with all black deal and a headdress that made her look like it was two snakes frozen on both sides of her shoulder. However, her most eye-catching feature was her heterochromatic eyes, gold and silver. She was a legend in the tribe because she was a pseudo-emperor and because she once ripped those eyes from a silver-gold tiger, an innate creature, during an outing in a secret dimension from the old era. The future? He has the potential to condense a body of merit but hasn't gathered enough merit, so he used a time-based spell to summon it from the future, or a potential future. The enemy might be more troublesome than we anticipated, said Khutulun 2, a middle-aged man in a loose, bland black robe who concealed his powerful physique. He appeared to intentionally reduce his aura and presence. Ancestors, you were known for your wisdom. Do you have a plan? Asked Khutulun, who became number 12. I do, replied number 2. Before I reveal, am I to understand you know many divine abilities? Ah yes, nodded Tolyu. Can you? No problem. Then here is the plan, said Khutulun 2. After this quick exchange, everyone prepared for this battle. Khutulun 8, the only member of the group who practiced a professional Dao, blessed everyone with divine runes, talismans. Then Khutulun 1 and 4 rushed toward Feng Heng. The tribe's founder practiced power Dao, so his fighting style was direct and aboveboard. He punched his opponent with the force of 1,000,000 great thousand worlds, exploding simultaneously. Bang, bang, bang. The attack did nothing to Feng Heng as a golden light around his body blocked all these attacks. Even when number 3, who cultivated weapon Dao, summoned 2 massive hammers and joined on the offensive. Feng Heng punched the elderly man in the face and kicked number 4 in the stomach, sending them flying away. Then 2 flying and invisible arrows appeared out of nowhere, hitting vital parts. Feng Heng frowned despite not being injured. Looking at the source, he saw Taoyui with Khutulun 9 and 10, each holding a bow and arrow. However, this was his focus as he turned to look at Khutulun 8 and 5. The Khutulun and the talisman maker blessed the arrow, but the main reason my eyes didn't detect it was because of this woman with divine eyes, summarized Feng Heng. He pushed his eyes to the limit before using Buddha's travel to rush to this particular group. He considered the woman a major problem and headed directly for her. However, Khutulun 3 rushed to stop him, exchanging blows and forcing him to take a few steps backward into the void. Power Dao? No, he's a pure body refiner and seems exceptionally talented, thought Feng Heng. The flesh is a poison, and the only path to freedom is a spiritual practice. Feng Heng uttered these words with his lotus tongue technique, and the latter's flesh began to rot. Khutulun 3 reacted swiftly as his body turned red, countering this technique. However, Feng Heng took this opportunity to temporarily seal him inside a black and white energy shield. He continued toward this threat, and once he was close to their destination he did something that surely surprised the group. Feng Heng suddenly teleported to the group of archers and unleashed a devastating palm attack. Khutulun 9 and 10 had no chance to respond and exploded into spiritual particles. Taoyui was bleeding, but he did escape from Feng Heng's vicinity. Feng Heng did not pursue him but looked at Khutulun 11 and said, "Vile things, vanish from my sight." Omicron Khutulun 11 was the shortest of the group and had a pale, almost sickly complexion. That's because his main Dao was poison and curses, which ruined his body in his early years. He never changed it after proving the Dao. When Feng Heng uttered these words, 11 knew he was done for. The golden body of merit is more efficient against vile things like poison, curses, or anything evil or demonic, which are foundations for his Dao. So, a golden light descended from the heavens and purified him into oblivion. Damn it, does he know our plan? Asked number 4. Possibly. No, he doesn't, reassured Khutulun 2. He just has a terrifying battle experience, which is odd given he's a monk. However, his aura is more ancient than normal, so that might be the cause. Khutulun knew of the dream world and its effects, but she also knew this was not the time for this kind of conversation. What's next? The plan remains the same. Just be more careful. Khutulun 1, 3 and 4 became the vanguard. Khutulun fused with her wolf, boosting her strength, before turning invisible, and Khutulun 5's eyes glowed and released golden chains to provide support. Feng Heng frowned as he sensed danger. Her chains are targeting my weak points, he thought before evading. The other heavy powerhouses followed him closely, not leaving a chance to breathe and react. Pish. Although the sound was small, somehow, everyone heard it and momentarily paused. As they checked with their divine sense, they saw another Feng Heng appearing behind Khutulun 2 and plunging his hands on his chest. The second Khutulun looked at his rapidly dissipating body before saying calmly, "Continue the plan." He disappeared, not even batting an eye on his demise. Feng Heng did not dissolve his Yin clone and had the latter rush toward the Talisman Maker team. Khutulun 5 activated her eyes, and a moon manifested above them, releasing a light that dissolved the clone. I see. Her eyes are just another version of the yin-yang eyes, thought Feng Heng. Gold symbolizes yang, and silver is often associated with yin. Feng Heng knew that heavenly physiques were mainly human concepts. It's rare for demons or any creatures with a powerful bloodline to have a heavenly physique. So, it's possible that Heavenly Dao modeled some of these physiques from the bloodline of the demon race, or in this case, innate life forms, since they are the original demon race. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1105 True Buddhism. Feng Heng remained calm before manifesting black and white chains to counter Khutulun 5's while also dealing blow-to-blow with numbers 1, 3 and 4. Khutulun 7, the woman with the lion pelt, stood in the distance, roaring at him, thus releasing a powerful shockwave attack. In-world strike. While Feng Heng was dealing with more than 4 opponents, he had already used a secret attack and just waited. Then 2 black spears appeared out of nowhere. One impaled Khutulun 7, and the other attacked the Talisman Maker. Khutulun 7 practiced Beast Dao and had an abnormal beast-like instinct, but it was too late for her to react. Like every emperor in the myriad emperor world, Feng Heng studied all the battles from this generation's heaven will. So, he once noticed one of Wang Zhe's techniques where she entered a 2-dimensional space. Intrigued, he created his own version by entering the Yin dimension or the Yin world, a place outside the material world where Yin and Yang are not balanced. On the contrary, only Yin exists. He sent his attacks on that world to sneak attack his opponent. Feng Heng calmly watched the result of his actions. Number 7 died with a shocked expression, while number 8, the Talisman Maker, only injured her shoulder as number SX's eyes detected something at the last minute to save her. Swish. Khutulun 12 appeared out of nowhere and stabbed Feng Heng in the back. However, her dagger could not penetrate his golden body protection. However, she seemed rather calm by this fact. As Feng Heng was about to take action, he sensed something attacking his soul. As expected, Khutulun's attack was from the shadow of his soul. However, this technique was useless to him, as he had seen it during her fight against Su Shi during the Gou Xian trial. He would not fall for something he was already aware of. Feng Heng slightly underestimated Khutulun 12. After so many years, how would her technique not evolve? The shadow of the soul was just the beginning, as her attack also contained the Buddha's shadow. However, it was not the ordinary shadow that a human figure created. No, it was deeper than this. Her technique involved the idea that even the atoms in a body have their own shadow, and she controlled them to attack her enemy from the inside. He targeted their essence. Such a brilliant move, and Feng Heng's mistake should have been the opportunity to wound her opponent severely. Sadly, Khutulun 12 or anyone in this battle underestimated the defense of a golden body of merit, even the future possibility one, and of the lowest levels. The golden light around Feng Heng's body appeared on every atom of his body to protect him. "Do it now," said Khutulun 12, whose attack failed. She ordered the others who had already surrounded Feng Heng to move, and they all activated the talisman secretly sealed inside their bodies. Then they will abandon their cultivation to focus on their practice. Your idea sounds good on paper, but there are too many flaws upon closer look. Like what? Like lifespan. How are we supposed to achieve enlightenment without the long lifespan of cultivation? You have no idea how much mortals can achieve in their short, limited time, replied Feng Heng, shaking his head. Moreover, you fail to see my point. We could use cultivation to increase our lifespan and help us with our practice. We just want to use them for power and strength. Furthermore, true enlightenment is about cultivating the self and the mind. We don't need to focus on the laws of heaven and earth. We should focus more on the inner self. Cultivate from the inside out instead of from the outside in. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Regardless if this is true, Feng Heng might have unknowingly begun his journey toward transcendence with these thoughts, but he doesn't know it yet, concluded Wang Wei. He smirked. I should tell him to see how things go. He wanted to summon Feng Heng to talk immediately but stopped himself. Might be best to be prudent. Feng Heng had these thoughts but has not acted on them. He must also consider the ramifications of revealing such information, as it could trigger Gou Dao or some other entity's gaze. The best option is to wait until I've determined whether Maitreya is trustworthy, run this idea by her, and then tell Feng Heng. After all, I am a novice in Buddhism and my idea might just be nonsense. Wang Wei calmed down, deciding not to rush. Then, another thought flashed in his mind. Assuming my thoughts are correct, what would happen to Gautama, the creator of Buddhism, who achieved true nirvana without cultivation on earth? Not just him, but any monks who succeeded in a place like the prehistoric world? Any normal thing becomes complicated once it occurs in the prehistoric world because of their strange relationship with the rest of the chaos universe in Gou Dao. Wang Wei shook his head as he had too little information to make any decent theories or conjectures. It might be a good idea to be more involved in Buddhism, study and learn from it, he muttered. The Buddhist path of spiritual practice did not suit him in achieving transcendence. The idea of following one doctrine or school of thought ran counter to his way of life and goal. However, Buddhism does wish to achieve freedom, just not in the same way as him. As such, he could learn from them to help with his goals and ambitions. So Wang Wei decided to take his title of honorary Buddha more seriously. Of course, he will also study Taoism and other religions and practices to learn from all of them. Star Beast World Community. As soon as the battle started, everyone had an opponent. Jilanfang calmly looked at the 5 people before him, 2 Eternals and 3 Pseudos. He sipped his wine one last time before putting it away. Glancing at these people, he noticed something. They've all been blessed with talismans to increase their reflexes and defense. Were they created to counter my speed? What do I call you? Asked Jilanfang. Void Mirror Emperor. Red Bolt Emperor. Blue Streak Emperor. Mountain Fist Emperor. Iron Skin Emperor. So, 1 for instant movement, 1 for distant attack, 1 for speed, 1 for close combat, and 1 for defense, thought Jilanfang, realizing that whoever chose these individuals as his opponent did so thoughtfully. He wondered whether everyone in Wang Wei's alliance was similar. Given the Commerce Hub's information gathering ability, it should be expected, Jilanfang. The hub was probably preparing for this attack for a while, given how fast they mobilized their troops after Wang Wei's supposed disappearance. He would not tell these people he had improved drastically while training in the swordsmanship world after incorporating the essence of all these unparalleled swordsmen into his sword Dao. You're next, he declared. A mirror suddenly appeared before Mountain Fist to reflect or counter the attack. However, it was still not fast enough as the latter's body split into millions of parts, including his soul. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. The Red Bolt Emperor saw a white flash of light, and before he could even form a thought, he saw his body as his detached head floated in the void. How is that possible? My friend's Dao is all about cutting, so I learned a few things from him, Ji Lanfang explained before turning to the Mirror Void Emperor. You've been concocting a plan for a while now. What is it? You'll soon find out. A mirror appeared before the Void Mirror Emperor, and a clone walked out from the mirror, looking exactly like the original. Then a blue light flashed around both of their bodies. I was right. The Commerce Hub gave him a unique chi with the power to boost stats and abilities, Ji Lanfang thought before going on the offensive. His sword moved as if the concepts of matter, energy, gravity, friction, space, and time had no restraint on it. Usually, this is where the enemy is either slayed or they found a way to block, and this time, it was the latter with a twist. As Ji Lanfang's sword reached one of the clones, his sword began to slow down until it was moving slower than a turtle. Time deceleration? No, this is something different, he thought, his mind working on overdrive. His Dao is a combination of space and mirror. Mirror? Inversion? She inverted my speed, turning into slowness. While one Void Mirror Emperor temporarily restricted Ji Lanfang, the other rushed to attack. It had two spikes in his hand that were made from shards or of a collapsed dimension, resembling weapons composed of mirrors. Click. As the second Mirror Emperor attacked, a sword emerged from Ji Lanfang's flesh. He blocked the space shard weapon, baffling the Void Mirror Emperor. So he tried again, releasing a barrage of stabs and strikes, but Ji Lanfang's body had grown hundreds of spikes, all made of swords. Bang! Ji Lanfang broke through the technique restriction using a subtle yin-yang technique that involved using the yang energy from his fleshly body and the yin energy from his soul. That was a flesh divine ability. I thought swordsmen disdained to cultivate the flesh, asked the Void Mirror Emperor, not hiding the mockery in his tone. Time has changed and you need to keep up, replied Ji Lanfang, deciding to be more serious. He used the 10,000 sword body technique, a body refining technique that allowed him to temper his body by absorbing or fusing with swords. He created this technique to temper his body and used the sword wills remaining in famous swords to temper his swordsmanship. Ji Lanfang tightened his grip on his sword, gathering the terrifying force from his flesh. He perfectly combined all his Buddha strength or force with his skill and sword Dao, elevating his strength to a higher level, peak 5-old to be exact. This strike could not be described in words. Did it ignore the concepts of space, time, matter, energy, and other concepts? No, it did not just do that. Above nothingness strike, Ji Lanfang put his newly trained arms to use. He used his ultimate technique, a strike so fast that he achieved a level beyond nothingness. Well, beyond the void, like Wang Wei, he would die if he ever achieved a state beyond nothingness in his current cultivation realm. With this attack, Ji Lanfang slashed through trillions of mirror dimension layers in less than an attosecond. He continued this attack for over 10 seconds, destroying an incalculable amount of infinite dimensions. Sadly, the result was the same. He was stuck in this place. Ji Lanfang stopped, frowning as he observed around. Your efforts are useless, said the Void Emperor Mirror, who opened his robe and cut his chest to reveal his heart. It was transparent as if made of glass. A void beast heart, said Ji Lanfang. Not a simple void beast heart, but one blessed in their headquarters, corrected Void Mirror. They gave it to me just to seal you here and prevent your interference in this war. Do you think this is enough to stop me? Maybe alone it's not. But with the sage blessing chi, don't expect to leave this place anytime soon. Ji Lanfang had heard of the Sage Blessing Chi, a unique energy from the source Chi space known for its buff or assistance abilities. No wonder Wang Wei wants to get his hands on the Commerce Hub. These guys are unreasonably rich. Ji Lanfang looked around, looking for weaknesses and flaws in this prison. He once fought a swordsman in the swordsmanship world whose sword Dao was to find or create flaws in his opponent, and he became the victor by learning from his opponent. He found a spot and struck, destroying countless more layers. This method allowed him to eliminate more layers with one attack, but he was still stuck in this terrible place. What a pain, thought Ji Lanfang, trying different methods. You're not getting here, mocked the Void Mirror Emperor. In the end, Ji Lanfang decided to drink and wait. He had done his part by killing 4 eternal powerhouses and forcing one to be stuck with him. So, he was just going to wait until someone came to rescue him or Wang Wei returned to clean up this mess. Star Beast World Community. When the 4-layer array disintegrated, the Demon Suppression Emperor was prepared. She wore white-fitting martial clothes with a black sash as a belt, short hair, no sleeves showing her muscular shoulders and biceps, and a bandage around her fist. Her clothes hung over her private area while leaving ample room for her well-toned or muscular legs. She was the definition of a muscle beauty. As Honghua held her two swords, her aura was vast, fierce, noble and wild. As a human emperor, she naturally exuded respect, and her swords naturally released a suppression and repellent against any demon race. 5 people rushed to her, 1 eternal, 2 pseudo-eternals and 2 immortal sovereigns. She frowned as she realized this battle would not be arduous. You would have understood this had you lived my life. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. The redness in Honghua's eyes rapidly dissipated. Lord Wangwei? Don't let anger overwhelm your mind. After these words, she felt the clarity of her mind and immediately acted. The opponent's technique used the fact that she cultivated pure Yang Dao while the other cultivated Yin Dao to create a yin-yang resonance between their bodies. Then she destroyed the balance inside her body. Had she been of sound mind, this process would not have been so easy due to her superior control over her body and Dao. So, after re-establishing the balance, Honghua's body returned to normal, but her expression was slightly pale. How did she wake up so easily? Thought Blue Phoenix. She used a powerful Yin/Soul technique to affect her opponent's mind and soul, and adding the fact that she targeted the latter's flaw, it should not be so easy for Honghua to wake up. Did someone interfere? But why didn't I sense something? She can only assume her opponent had another way to protect her soul. Blue Phoenix raised her hand to summon an ice trident. Frozen time. A deep blue ice chill encapsulated the surrounding void, and the river of time stopped flowing. Honghua's body could not move as it froze in time and she could not move. As she watched her opponent rush forward with the obvious intention to impale her, she reacted. Burning time. Honghua's body released a terrifying flame that burned the frozen time. She parried the trident with one sword while immediately countering with the second. Blue Phoenix blocked with the other end of her trident. She opened her mouth to release a terrifying blizzard breath, but Honghua responded in kind with a fiery breath. Pure Yang/Honghua released a pure white slash with no flame energy or power, yet this was a pure Yang-based technique. Why is that? It's because in Taoism, pure Yang is the purest form of vitality or energy in the universe, and her attack is based on this idea. Blue Phoenix's face changed. The sudden shift was unexpected. In her mind, Honghua's attack should have been more flame-focused, like most pure Yang Dao cultivators. She manifested a towering ice wall larger than thousands of galaxy clusters to defend herself. However, the white slash cut through them like a heated knife cutting through butter. Such an act bought her enough time to gather strength to confront the slash with her trident directly. She did not try to evade it as she detected the speed of this thing and the fact it locked into her aura. Bang! Blue Phoenix stopped the attack, but it left countless cuts on her body, which healed instantly due to her Ice Phoenix bloodline. As a subspecies of Phoenix, they were still a resilient innate demon despite not reaching the same level as Flame Phoenixes in the healing department. Boom, boom, boom. The two clashed constantly using countless techniques. Anyone approaching their area would freeze to death or experience spontaneous combustion.